Hello all, welcome. My name is Kastro Kiran. In the previous video, we have seen how to deploy a Swiggy clone application by using different tools available in the DevOps process. If you haven't watched this DevOps project, I would recommend you to watch the video. The link to this video is provided in the description. As a part of today's video, we are going to see how to deploy a Zomato clone application using the multiple tools that are available in the DevOps process. Before working on this project, let me explain you the different tools and also the pipeline stages I am going to use in order to deploy the Zomato clone application. The very first tool that we are going to use is the GitHub repository. In the GitHub repository, the source code of the application is available along with the Jenkins file and also the Docker file. And then the next tool that we are going to use is Jenkins. And by using Jenkins, we are going to create the CI/CD pipelines. Once we work with the Jenkins setup, then we are going to integrate another tool with Jenkins, which is known as SonarQube. By using SonarQube, we are going to do the code quality analysis and quality gate analysis of the code as well. Once this is done, in the next stage, we are going to perform the OWASP file system scan, where we are going to do the complete file system scan that are available in the GitHub repository. Once OWASP performs the file system scan, then we are going to perform one more scan, which is known as Trivy scan. Trivy is also used to check the vulnerabilities in the dependencies and a couple of other things that we are going to use in this project. Once this is done, then we are going to create the Docker image and we are going to push the Docker image to the Docker Hub. Once the creation of Docker image and pushing the image to the Docker Hub is completed, we are going to use the Docker Scout image analysis, where it is going to check the vulnerabilities that are available in the image or any problems that are available in the image. This particular stage is called as Docker Scout analysis. This stage I haven't used in the previous video, so I'm using this stage in this video, which is going to explain you how Docker image will be scanned. Apart from Privy, we can also do this Docker Scout image analysis. Once the image analysis is completed by the Docker Scout, then we are going to create the Docker container. Once we are going to deploy the application into the Docker container, so I'm integrating the email notification also in this particular project. Once we get the successful deployment of application into the Docker container, and once we receive the email notification about the pipeline trigger, then finally we are going to access the Zomato clone application. But this is not where we are going to stop. Once we deploy the application into the Docker container, we are taking this to the next level, where I am going to show you how to deploy the same application in the Kubernetes cluster. So in this video, we are going to create the EKS cluster in the AWS cloud, and we are going to deploy the application into the Kubernetes cluster as well. But along with the application deployment into the Kubernetes cluster, we are also going to use a couple of tools such as the Prometheus and Grafana, where we are going to see the data application or the performance of the application by using Prometheus and Grafana. These are the different tools that I am going to use in order to do the full-scale deployment of the application, as well as the complete monitoring of the application by using Prometheus and Grafana. This video will be going to be a little lengthy because we are going to use multiple tools and we need to configure multiple things in the Jenkins, as well as we have to set up the Kubernetes cluster, Grafana dashboards, and also Prometheus. Along with that, we are also going to see how to work with Argo CD as well. That I will explain once we jump into the video. So this is the project repository which I am going to use. So once I give this project repository in the description of this video, you can also fork this particular repository by using the fork option, so that whatever changes if I do in the future, those changes will also be available for you, so that it will be helpful for you if there are any updates in this repository. So here you can see the public repository is there, and also the SRC folder is there. Along with that, I have kept the Docker file and also the Jenkins file And along with that, package.json file and package.json file are also available. So I'll let you know what are the different things that I'm going to use in this particular repository when the situation comes, and also that particular tool is being discussed. So Jenkins file, I'm going to keep the pipeline script, and in the Docker file, I have kept the different things or the configurations that are required to perform to deploy the application into the Docker container. So first, let me show you the entire documentation which I am going to use for this project. So this is the project documentation. In this project documentation, I have given the complete step-by-step process of what actually I am going to do as a part of this particular project. I will be following this particular documentation during the entire recording of this video, so that you will also be having a chance to understand what are the things that I am going to do in this project. So firstly, I am going to use the Ubuntu-based instance, which is of 24.04 version. But here, in order to do this project, we cannot go with t2.micro instances. So I'm going with t2.large instance. But remember, but since I'm using the t2.large instance, some AWS will charge you some amount for the creation and the working of t2.large instance type. And these are the different port numbers that I'm going to open. But I'm not going to open all these port numbers now itself. But I will let you know when to open what port number and what is the importance of all these port numbers also. I'll let you know. But just for your understanding, these are the different port numbers that I am going to use in the entire project. Right. So let me go to the AWS console and let me launch an EC2 instance. So currently I am there in the AWS console, especially the EC2 service. In the EC2 service, we are going to launch the instance. So let me click on launch instances. And here is where we need to configure all the requirements for our instance. Let's say I'm going to keep this instance name as ZOMATO server. You can give any name to the instance, but I'm just giving this particular name. And then I'm going to select the Ubuntu-based instances. And the AMI I'm going to select is 24.04. This is the AMI I'm going to select. And then the instance type. This is what I was telling some time back. We are not going to use the t2.micro instance. Instead, we are going to use the t2.large instance. Since we are going to integrate different tools here, we have to use this particular type of instance. So I'm going to select t2.large instance. And if you have any existing key pair, you can select the key pair from this dropdown. Otherwise, you can click on create new key pair and then view the key pair name, select the type as RSA and select the type as a file format as a .pem, and then click on create key pair so that the key pair file will get downloaded into the local system. Currently, I am not going to create the key pair because I already have one key pair. So I'm going to use the existing key pair. So I'm just going to select the existing key pair and then network settings. I am just going with the default network settings, and let us create a new security group, which is called as launch wizard 1. So once this security group gets created, then I will show you what are the different port numbers that we need to open for this particular security group. And then I'm going to use the storage capacity as 29 GB. 30 GB is the maximum that we can use for a free tier accounts. So I'm going with 29 GB. Even you can go with 30 GB also, there is no problem. But if you go beyond 30 GB, you will be charged for the additional storage volume that you are going to use. So I'm just going with 29 GB capacity, and the number of instances I need is only one instance. So let me click on launch instance so that the instance is going to be launched. Once the instance is launched, I'm going to use the mobile XM terminal in order to connect to the EC2 instance. So you can see the instance launch is successfully completed. So let me click on instance ID so that we can see the public IP address of the instance. And by using the public IP address and the PEM file, we are going to connect to the EC2 instance. So this is the server that we have launched, which is ZOMATO server. And you can see the instance is currently in the running state also. So just check the instance, copy the public IP address of the instance, go to the mobile system, click on session, click on SSH. In the place of remote host, paste the public IP address of the instance, check specify username. For all Ubuntu instances, the username is Ubuntu. That's the default user. So let me click on advanced SSH settings, use private key, and then click on the file icon and select the PEM file, whatever you have used in order to create the EC2 instance. So I have selected the PEM file and then click on OK so that you will be connected to the EC2 instance. And once after you connect to the EC2 instance, so we need to update the existing packages. So let me clear the screen first and let me zoom out, let me zoom in a little bit so that you can see the things, what I'm exactly going to do. So first, let me switch to the root user. The command to switch to the root user is sudo su. So if you do who am I, you can say I'm currently the root user. And if you do pwd, this is my current working directory, which is /home/ubuntu, right? Once we do this one, the very first thing that we have to do is we need to install the AWS CLI in the EC2 instance. So let me show you the commands which are required in order to install the AWS CLI inside the EC2 instance. So currently I have launched the instance and I have connected to the instance. So I have switched to the root user. And if you want, you can update the existing packages by using the command sudo apt update -y. So let me update the existing packages if there are any. And if once the packages gets updated, then we are going to install the AWS CLI. Now, in order to install the AWS CLI, we are going to first install the unzip, and then we are going to use the curl command for that. And then I'm going to unzip the AWS CLI, and then I'm going to install the AWS CLI. So let me first install the unzip command so that we can install the AWS CLI. So let me clear the screen. So let me paste the commands so that we will unzip will get installed. Once that is done, then I'm going to use the curl command to install the AWS CLI part. So let me paste that command also. Let me click enter so that that gets installed. And once that is done, let me also use unzip command to work with AWS CLI version 2. That is the current zip file that I am going to install. So it got unzipped. If you do ls, you can see this is the zip file and this is the unzip file, right? So now once that is done, let us install it by using this command, which is sudo /.aws/install. That is the command to install the AWS CLI. Now you can see the AWS CLI has successfully got installed. If you want, you can also run AWS space ---- version, and you can see the CLI version, which I have currently installed is 2.18.17. And Python also got installed. That's the default, but it will come when we install AWS CLI. So let me clear the screen. So that is the first thing that we have installed with respect to the AWS CLI. And then we are going to set up the Jenkins server. Now, in order to set up the Jenkins server, we need to execute all these commands. So you can execute all these commands one by one. Otherwise, you can create a shell file. And after creating the shell file also, in the shell file, you can keep all these commands and then directly you can execute that shell file also. So let me copy all these commands and I'll create a shell file, which is known as vi space jenkins.sh file. So why I'm creating the shell file? Because I don't want to execute all the commands one by one. So I will just create a shell file with this name and then click enter, go to the insert mode, and then paste all the commands, whatever that are required in order to install Jenkins. So here you can see I am installing JDK 17 because in order to work with Jenkins, it is mandatory to install Java also. So I'm going to install JDK 17 version. JDK means Java Development Kit. And then I am going to install the Jenkins as well. Okay, so these are the commands that I have kept in order to install JDK and Jenkins. Right. So let's press escape :WQ to come out of the file. Now, if you do cat space the file name, that is jenkins.sh, you can see the different commands that are available in the jenkins.sh file, which we have just copied. Now, if you do ls, you can see jenkins.sh file is available. But currently, this file is not having the executable permission. So you need to give the permissions to execute this particular file. So how will you give the permissions? The command is chmod +x. That is the command to give the executable permissions. And then give the file name, that is jenkins.sh. Now click enter. If you do ls, you can see now the jenkins.sh file is having the executable permissions. So how to execute a shell file? In order to execute the shell file, the command is /jenkins.sh. Now, when you click enter, whatever commands that you have kept inside the jenkins.sh file, all those commands will get executed one by one in the process of installing JDK, and it will also install the Jenkins as well. Right. So let it get installed. Meanwhile, I will just open port number 8080 for this server. The reason why I'm going to open port number 8080 is by default, Jenkins is going to run on port number 8080. So we have to access Jenkins. So for that reason, I'm going to open port number 8080. So just check the instance, go to security. In the security, you can see security groups. So click on security group link. And here is where you have to open the inbound rules. So go to inbound rules, click on edit inbound rules, and click on add rule. The type is custom TCP. Port range is 8080 because this is the default port number for Jenkins to run. And source is I'm just going to keep anywhere IPv4 and then click on save rules. Now, once you click on save rules, we have opened successfully port number 8080. You can see that here. Right. So let me copy the public IP address of the instance, and then we can access the Jenkins dashboard. So select the instance, copy the public IP address, and then go to a new tab. Let me go to the new tab, paste the IP address, :8080. Make sure you have to give :8080 because this is where Jenkins is going to run. So you can see currently Jenkins is in the active and running state. Now to come out of this, press Ctrl+C so that you will be seeing the next command terminal. Now currently Jenkins is in running state, so we can access the Jenkins dashboard. So let me press enter so that we can see the Jenkins dashboard. Once we see the Jenkins dashboard, in order to set up the Jenkins dashboard, we need to get the administrator password. Now, in order to get the administrator password, we need to go to this particular path where the initial admin password will be available. So I'm just going to copy this particular path, go to the mobile XM terminal. Let me clear the screen. Now I want to see the password. So in order to see the content inside a file, we will use cat command. So cat space the path that you have copied from the Jenkins dashboard. And this is your Jenkins administrator password. So copy this password, go to the Jenkins dashboard, paste it here, click on continue, and then you have to install the suggested plugins. So click on install suggested plugins so that all the default plugins will get installed here. Once the default plugins gets installed, we have to set up the username, email ID, and password for the Jenkins. So let it get happen. Meanwhile, let us see what is the next step that we are going to do. Now, once this is done, then we are going to install Docker. The reason why we are going to install Docker is we need to create the Docker image, and we need to push the Docker image to the Docker Hub, and then we need to create the Docker container where our application will be run. So for that, we need to install Docker. So these are the different commands in order to install Docker. So I'm just going to copy all these commands. Instead of executing one by one, I'll create a shell file. So let me create the shell file. So vi.docker.sh, that is the shell file name that I'm giving. You can give any name to the file. So press I so that you can paste the content in order to install Docker. So you can see these are the different commands in order to install Docker. So let me press escape :WQ to come out of the file. Now, if you do cat space file name, you can see all the commands that I have just pasted inside the docker.sh file. But by default, the docker.sh file doesn't have the executable permission. So we have to give the executable permission. So in order to give the executable permission, the command is chmod +x and then file name, that is docker.sh. Now, if you do ls, you can see docker.sh file is having the executable permission. Now, in order to execute the shell file, the command is /docker.sh. So just press enter so that all the commands, whatever you have kept inside the docker.sh file, they will get executed one by one in a systematic order. Right. So let me go to the Jenkins dashboard. Now you can see it is asking me to create the first admin user. So just give the username and give the password also. Whatever password that you want, you can provide that. And then give the full name also and provide the email address as well. And once this is done, let me click on save and continue. And this using this particular URL only, we are going to access the Jenkins dashboard. So let me click on save and finish, and then click on start using Jenkins. Now we are ready to access the Jenkins dashboard. So let me check the Docker also got installed. If you want to check whether Docker is installed or not, the command is Docker space hyphen version. You can see Docker 27 version has got installed currently. Right. So let me clear the screen here. Currently, we have Java software, which is installed inside the EC2 instance. You can see Java 17 version. We have the Jenkins also. So Jenkins space hyphen version. Jenkins is also available and Docker is also available. Right. You can see all the required softwares have been installed. Right. The next thing that we have to do is we have to install Trivy. So Trivy is actually a file system scan. Apart from OWASP, we can also use Trivy to do the file system scan of the Docker images. So for that reason, we need to install Trivy. So in order to execute all these commands one by one, what I will do is I'll keep all these commands in the shell file, and then I will execute that shell file so that the Trivy installation will be successful. So let me copy all these commands, go to the mobile extension. So I'll just create a file which is known as trivy.sh. So you can give any name to the file. There is no rule that you should give only this particular file. So let me press enter. So go press I and then paste all the commands which are required to install the Trivy software. So Trivy is used to scan the Docker image and to perform the analysis of the Docker image, to check vulnerabilities and all those things. So press escape :WQ. As I said earlier, by default, the .sh file will not have the executable permission. So we need to give the executable permission. So how will you do that? chmod +X is to give the executable permission and then give the file name. Click enter. Now, if you do ls, you can see trivy.sh file has got executable permission. So let us execute the file, that is ./trivy.sh. So once this is done, the Trivy will also get installed successfully. Once the Trivy installation is also successful, we can check the version of the Trivy which got installed by using this particular command, which is a Trivy space hyphen version. So let us check that. So Trivy installation is successful. So now let us verify the Trivy version also. So Trivy space hyphen version. This is the command which is used to check the version of the Trivy. Now you can see the Trivy version, that is 0.56.56.2. That's the current version of Trivy which I have installed successfully. Right. So as of now, we have installed Jenkins, we have installed Docker, and we have installed Trivy. Along with that, we are going to install one more thing, which is called as a Docker Scout. Now, Docker Scout is used to perform the image analysis of the Docker image. So firstly, in order to install the Docker Scout, what we have to do is we have to log into the Docker Hub into the browser. So make sure you have your own Docker Hub account. So in order to connect to the Docker Hub, so first let me go to the hub.docker.com. This is the place where our Docker Hub will be available. Make sure you have your own Docker Hub account. Currently, I have my own Docker Hub account. So let me click on the first link so that you will be able to see the Docker Hub account which I have on my own. Now, currently, you can see this is my Docker Hub account. This is my Docker Hub username. And these are the different images which I have used. This is the Swiggy application which I have used in the last video. So this is the Swiggy image. So Zomato image is also there. So I'll do one thing. I'll delete this particular image. So this image was created when I was working with other things. So let me go to settings and let me delete it so that you will not get any kind of confusions once after I push the image. So let me click on delete repository. And then I'm just going to type the image name, then click on delete repository. So currently in my Docker Hub, I have only two repositories. One is Swiggy and the other one is Spotify app. We don't have anything that is related to Zomato. Right. Once this is done, let me go to the mobile extension. Now in the mobile extension, what we have to do is we have to log into the Docker Hub. Okay, we have to log into the Docker Hub. Now, why we need to log into the Docker Hub? Because we want to install the Docker Scout. So in order to install the Docker Scout, it is mandatory to perform this kind of action. So first, in order to log into the Docker Hub using the mobile extension, the command is docker login -u. -u represents username. Now, for every Docker Hub, we will have an username. Okay, we'll have an username. So just click on the profile icon here, and you can see this is my Docker Hub username, Kastro V. So let me give that username, Kastro V. So that's how you will give the Docker Hub username. So here also I have given the syntax, how you can log into the Docker Hub in the mobile extension. So let me press enter so that it will ask the password of Docker Hub. So whatever is the password of Docker Hub, please enter that password. But remember, whenever you are entering the password, you will not be able to see. So you just enter it and then click enter. Okay, press enter in your keyboard. Once you do that, if you have entered the correct password of your Docker Hub, it will tell login succeeded. Okay, you can see currently I have logged into my Docker Hub account by using the mobile external terminal. Now, once this is done, then we have to install the Docker Scout. So in order to install the Docker Scout, this is the command which we will use in order to install Docker Scout. So let me copy this command and then let me give the command here and then click enter. So by using curl command, I'm installing the Docker Scout, which is available in the GitHub repository. Okay, which is available in the GitHub repository. Now here it is telling that there is no permission. So let me give the root permission. So I'll just switch to the root user, sudo sn. Let me paste the command so that it will work. Right. So this is how we can install the Docker Scout. Docker Scout has been installed successfully. Now, once that is installed successfully, we need to provide the permission to the Docker Scout in order to execute the file. Okay, in order to execute the file. So for that, we will be using this command called sudo chmod for Docker Scout file permission to execute. So let me press enter. That is also done. Right. Now, once this is done, the next thing that we have to do is we have to set up the SonarQube server. So why we will use SonarQube? We are going to use the SonarQube in order to perform the code quality analysis. Now, in order to install the SonarQube, I am going to use Docker. Okay, I'm going to get the SonarQube:LTS-community. This is the default Docker Hub image for the SonarQube. And by default, SonarQube is going to run on port number 9000. Okay, port number 9000. So this is called as port mapping, host port number and container port number. And here -p represents port mapping. And this is my SonarQube port name. I mean, this is my SonarQube container name. Okay, Sonar. You can give any name. So I'm just going with this name. And this is the command which is used to create the SonarQube container. So first what it will do is it will pull the SonarQube image from the Docker Hub, and then it is going to create the container. Now you can see it didn't find the image in the local system. So it went to the Docker Hub and it is trying to pull the image from the Docker Hub. Which image it is trying to pull? It is trying to pull the SonarQube image. Right. So the image has been pulled and the container also got created. Let me show you the image. So in order to see the images, the command is a Docker images. And you can see the SonarQube image has got pulled. And this is the size of the image. Now, if you want to see the container of the SonarQube, just execute Docker ps. And you can see the container got created 21 seconds ago. And it is up and run. The SonarQube container is also up and run. Now let us access the SonarQube. As I was telling, by default, SonarQube is going to run on port number 9000. So what we have to do is we have to open port number 9000 for the EC2 instance, that is ZOMATO server instance. So let me go click on security groups and let me open the inbound rules. Click on edit inbound rule, add rule, custom TCP. The default port number of SonarQube is 9000. Source is anyway, and then click on save. Once this is done, let me go to a new tab. In the new tab, what I will do is I'll just open the port number 9000 so that SonarQube is going to run. So paste the public IP address of the instance, :9000. So that is where SonarQube is going to run. Now you can see SonarQube is currently loading. Now it is going to ask to enter the login and password, login ID and password. By default, the SonarQube login ID is admin and SonarQube password is also admin. These are the default credentials for SonarQube. Once you click on login, it will ask you to create a custom password. Okay, it will ask you to create the custom password. So just enter the old password. Old password is admin, and then give the password of your convenience. Whatever password you want, you can give the password and confirm that password. Click on update. Now, once you do this, you will be able to access the SonarQube dashboard. Now, once this is done, what we need to do is we need to install some plugins. We need to do some configurations in the Jenkins. So first, let me show you what are the plugins that we need to install in the Jenkins dashboard. Now, in order to install the Jenkins plugins, go to the Jenkins dashboard. In the Jenkins dashboard, you can see an option called Manage Jenkins. So click on Manage Jenkins. And here under System Configuration, you can see an option called Plugins. So click on Plugins here. And this is where click on Available Plugins. And by using this particular thing, we are going to install the plugin. So the very first plugin that we will install is a pipeline stage view, so that it will give us a detailed stage by stage execution of the pipeline. So this is just to see the how pipeline is getting executed. And once after this is done, then we are going to install one more plugin, which is called as Eclipse Terminal Installer. So this particular plugin is helpful when we are working with the different versions of the Java. So this plugin will help us to select the different Java versions, right? And then we need to work with the Sonar Cube also. So let me give Sonar Cube scanner. So you can see Sonar Cube. So select the Sonar Cube also here. And once that is done, let me go with the Docker as well. So because we have to install a couple of Docker things also. So select Docker, Docker Commons, Docker Pipeline, Docker API, and Docker Build Step. So these are all the different plugins for Docker. And then since we want our email to come to our particular email address, we need to install a plugin which is called as email extension template. So this particular plugin is helpful when we want to send the email regarding the success or failure of the build. So that is the reason why I'm installing this particular plugin. And then we have to install one more plugin, which is called as OWASP. So OWASP is used to check the dependencies and also do the file system scanning. So select OWASP-dependency check. This particular plugin we need to install. So all the plugins, let me cross check whether all the plugins have been installed or not. Selected or not. So I have worked with Eclipse Terminal Installer, Sonar Cube Scanner. Okay. So I'm going to install this plugin also, which is Node.js plugin, because this particular application is developed by using Node.js. So I'm going to use Node.js also. So select Node.js, OWASP I have done, and then Docker, Docker Commons, Docker Pipeline, Docker API, Docker Build Step, Pipeline Stage View, and then we want to do the monitoring. So in order to do the monitoring, we need Prometheus for that. Okay, we need Prometheus for that. So let me give that Prometheus plugin also. So just give and type Prometheus. So you can select the Prometheus metrics. And then the next plugin is email extension template, which is used to get the email. So let me click on install so that all the plugins will get installed. You can see the different plugins that are getting installed. Error. You can see Prometheus plugin does not support dynamic loading. So what it is going to ask is, it is going to ask to restart the Jenkins. So how will you restart the Jenkins? Just to select this checkbox. So check this box so that Jenkins will automatically get restarted. Now, once the Jenkins gets restarted, automatically all the plugins will get installed. Okay, automatically all the plugins gets installed. Now, once Jenkins restart is completed, we have to enter the Jenkins username and password. So whatever is the Jenkins username that we have set up, that username and password we have to enter here. So let it come so that we can enter the Jenkins username and password. Now you can see the Jenkins username I'm going to enter, and this is my Jenkins password also. So just type both and then click on sign in so that you will be logging into the Jenkins dashboard again. So click on go back to the top page. Once this is done, the next thing that we have to do is we need to configure the Sonar Cube with the Jenkins. Now, before configuring Sonar Cube in the Jenkins, what we have to do is we have to generate one Sonar Cube token. Okay, we have to generate one Sonar Cube token. So how will you generate the Sonar Cube token is, here you can see there is an option called administration. So click on administration, and here you can see an option called security. Under security, you will see an option called users. So click on users, and here is where you are going to create one Sonar Cube token. Using this particular token only, we have to tell to Jenkins that Sonar Cube, you can access the Sonar Cube. That is what we are going to tell the Jenkins. Now, in order to do that, we need to create the Sonar Cube token. So let me press on these three dots so that we can create the Sonar Cube token. So give the name as a token, and expiration time, I'll give it as 30 days. Let it be no problem. And then click on generate. Now, this is what Sonar Cube token that we have to configure in the Jenkins. So let me go to the Jenkins dashboard, and here go to the manage Jenkins. In the manage Jenkins, we need to configure the Sonar Cube token. Okay, we need to configure the Sonar Cube token. Now, for that, I have given the detailed documentation also. You can see it here, Sonar Cube configuration in Jenkins. Okay, so before that, you have to create the token, which I have just done. And then we need to configure the Sonar Cube here, right? So there are different tools that we have to configure. One tool is JDK, the other one is Node.js, the other one is Docker, and a couple of other things such as SonarQube also. So let us do the configurations as well. So first, let me go to the Jenkins dashboard, go to Manage Jenkins. In the Manage Jenkins, under System Configurations, you can see an option called Tools. So click on Tools, and this is where you are going to configure all the required tools. If you don't configure these tools, then when you keep the pipeline will not get executed successfully. Okay, it will throw out an error. So in order to avoid that error things, you have to carefully configure whatever the names that I am giving, whatever the tool names that I am giving, whatever configurations that I am going to show you in this particular tab, you have to do exact same things so that when you are practicing, you don't get any kind of errors. So make sure to follow the exact things, whatever I'm going to follow in the tool configuration part. We need to configure all the required tools in order to set up the Jenkins pipeline so that the pipeline will run smoothly. So first thing that we have to do is we need to install JDK. So click on Add JDK and give the JDK name as JDK 17 because JDK 17 is the one that I have installed. So I'm just giving it as JDK 17. And then click on Install Automatically, click on Add Installer. And here you can see an option called Install from Adoptium.net. So click on that one. And here is where you can select the different versions of Java. So as I was mentioning, based upon the project, we can select the version of Java which is required for us. So currently in my project, I'm using Java 17 version. So I'm going to select Java 8.0.8.1 plus 1. You can also select this particular version also. There is no problem. But I'm just going with this one so that it will be compatible. If you want, you can go with this version also. But don't go any other versions except JDK 17. Don't select these versions because we haven't installed these particular versions. We have installed only JDK version, JDK 17 version. So I'm just going to select 17.0.8.1 plus 1. Right. Once that is done, then we have to work with Git installation also. Again, here Git installation is not mandatory. If you want, you can check this particular option. If you don't check also, that won't create any kind of problem when you are working with the pipeline stage. So I'll just leave it as it is. And then the next thing is we need to configure the SonarQube. Okay, we need to configure the SonarQube. Now, in order to configure the SonarQube, so we need to go with this particular option, which is SonarQube Scanner installation. So click on Add SonarQube Scanner. Okay, and here give the name as Sonar-Scanner. This is the name that I am giving. So make sure to give the same names when you are practicing also. And then I am going to select the latest version, which is 6.2.1.4610. This is the latest version which is there. If you want, you can select any other versions also, but let me go with this particular version. That's not a problem. And then click on Add Installer. Okay, click on Add Installer. And then here is where you have to work with the different things. But again, these commands are not required. So let it be as it is. If you select the version, that is more than fine. And then the next thing that we have to do is we need to work with Node.js installation because this particular project is developed by using Node.js. So that is why we need to configure Node.js as well. So click on Add Node.js and I'm giving the tool name for Node.js as a Node 23 because 23 is the latest version that is currently running. So I'm just selecting the latest version which is available, that is 23.1.0, right? And once this is done, the next thing that we have to do is OWASP dependency check. Okay, OWASP dependency check. So we have installed a plugin called OWASP, which is used for file system scan. So that also we have to configure. So click on Add Dependency Check and then give the tool name. So I'm just giving the tool name as a DP-check. DP represents a dependency-check. So make sure to follow the capital letters and small letters as it is because these names I have configured in the Jenkins pipeline. So that is the reason why I'm stressing out here to work with these ones very carefully. Right. And then the installation directory, it's not required to give the installation directory, but check install automatically and then click on Add Installer and then click on Install from github.com. So automatically from GitHub, it will install the required dependency check. So click on Install Dependency Check, and I'm going to select the latest version, which is 11.1.0. That is also fine. And the next thing that we have to do is a Docker installation. So let me click on Add Docker here, and the tool name, I'm giving it as a Docker, okay, all small letters, and then check Install automatically, click on Add Installer, and then click on download from docker.com, so that automatically the latest version, whichever is available, it will get downloaded. So these are the different tools which we have to configure. So let me just show you one more time so that you'll get an idea. So for JDK, I have given the JDK 17 as the tool name, and this is the version which I have installed. And Git, it's optional. If you want, you can check this one. If you leave it also, that won't be an issue. And the next thing is SonarQube installation also. I mean, SonarQube tool configuration also I have done. The tool name for SonarQube is sonar-scanner, and this is the version which I have selected. And then the Node.js also I have configured with the name called Node 23. And this is the latest version which I have selected. And then the OWASP dependency check, I have given the tool name as dp-check, and I have selected the latest version. And for Docker, I have given the tool name as Docker, and the version also I have selected the latest version. So click on apply, save it. With this, all the required tools have been configured successfully. Now, the next thing that we have to do is we have generated the SonarQube token. If you remember, some time back, we have generated the SonarQube token. This token we have to configure. Okay, this token we have to configure, right? So now what we have to do is, let us configure this token. So I'm just clicking on copy so that the token will get copied. So go to the Jenkins dashboard, manage Jenkins. Under security, you will see an option called credentials. Okay, you will see an option called credentials. So click on credentials, and here you can see an option called global. So this is where we have to configure the SonarQube credentials. So click on global. And here you can see an option called add credentials. So click on add credentials, and kind is not with username and password. We have generated a token. Okay, a secret token we have generated. So select this, copy this token. And then here we have to give the kind as secret text. Okay, kind, you give it as secret text. So give the kind as secret text, and scope, let it be global. And here secret should be whatever the token that you have generated here. Copy this token, go to the Jenkins dashboard and paste it. That's it. And here I'm going to give the ID. Okay, I'm going to give the ID. So make sure the ID that I'm going to give is sonar-token. Okay, sonar-token. This is the ID that I'm giving. Description also I'm going to give the same thing. And this is how we can configure the SonarQube credentials. So just click on create so that you will be able to see the SonarQube credentials. Okay, SonarQube credentials. Once when you run the pipeline, automatically Jenkins will connect to the SonarQube, and then in the SonarQube, you will be getting the details of the code quality analysis. Now, once this is done, the next thing that we have to do is we need to push the image to Docker Hub. Okay, we need to push the image to Docker Hub. That means we have to tell to the Jenkins to push the image to my Docker Hub. But how Jenkins will know that it has to push to this particular Docker Hub? We need to configure that also. So we need to configure the details of the Docker Hub credentials as well. So let us configure that also. And then click on add credentials here. The same process, just click on add credentials, and then Jenkins, the Docker will have username and password. So click on username with password. Scope, I'm selecting it as a global. Username is the Docker Hub username. So this is my Docker Hub username. Kastro V is my Docker Hub username. So just give the username, that is Kastro V, and password, you should give your Docker Hub password. So make sure to give the Docker Hub password correctly. And then ID. So the ID that I'm going to give it as a Docker. And the description also, I'm going to give the same description, which is Docker. And then click on create. Okay, and then click on create. So that the Docker credentials also got added. So you can see now SonarQube credentials added and Docker Hub credentials also got added. So this is how you can configure the required credentials. Why we have configured that? Because we want to get the code quality analysis report in the SonarQube dashboard. That is one reason why we have configured SonarQube here. And the another reason for Docker is we need to push the Docker image to my Docker Hub. So that is the reason why I have configured Docker Hub credentials also, right? So with these two configuration, it is done. The next thing that we have to do is we need to send the email notification. Okay, we need to send the email notification. Since we want to get the email notification once when the job is successfully built or the job is failure, we need to configure the email also. So in order to configure the email, first what we have to do is we have to generate one password. Okay, we have to generate the app password. So how will you generate the app password is go to your Gmail account. Okay, whatever is your Gmail account is there, go to the Gmail account. And in the Gmail account, what you should do is click on the profile icon. Okay, click on the profile icon. And here you can see edit Google account. Okay, you can see an option called edit Google account. So click on edit Google account. And here in the search bar, just type app password. Okay, just type app and you will see an option called app password. So click on app password. And here is where we have to generate one password. So let me the Gmail password so that it will allow us to generate the app password. So currently I have generated one password. So let me delete the existing one. Now app name, I'm giving it as Jenkins and then click on create. Now you can see this is your app password. This password you have to configure in the Jenkins dashboard. Only when you configure this one, you will be getting the email notification. So copy this entire password. So I'll just go to a new tab in the notepad. Just remove the spaces in between the characters. Make sure to remove that. And then that's something that we have to configure in the Jenkins dashboard. So let's see how to configure this app password in the Jenkins dashboard. Click on add credentials here. Okay, click on add credentials. Kind is username with password. And here scope is global and username is provide your email ID. To whichever email ID you want to get the notification, provide that email ID. So I want to get the notification for this particular email ID. And then here password is something which you have generated the app password. So copy this password and then paste it here. Okay, copy the password and paste it here. And ID, I'm going to give it as email creds, email hyphen creds. And the description also I'm giving the same thing, email hyphen creds. So click on create. So that we have configured the email credentials also. So with this, all the required credentials we have configured. Now the next thing that we have to do is we need to do the system configuration in Jenkins. Now, what does it mean by system configuration? System configuration is nothing but I have given the token of SonarQube. Okay, I have given the token of SonarQube, but have I told Jenkins that SonarQube is running on this particular port number and with this particular IP address? So far, we didn't set that. So we have to tell that to Jenkins. So how to tell that to Jenkins? So let us configure that one. So go to Jenkins dashboard. Okay, let me click on manage Jenkins here directly. And here in the manage Jenkins, you will see an option called system. Okay, you'll see an option called system. Now, in the system, what we have to do is we have to configure the SonarQube server. So let me click on system. And here we need to configure the SonarQube servers. So let me show you that one. So if you scroll down a little bit, you will see an option called the SonarQube server. You can see it here. Okay, SonarQube server. So here, click on add SonarQube. Click on add SonarQube. And I'm going to give the SonarQube server name as sonar-server. The reason why I'm configuring this name is I have given the same name in the Jenkins pipeline script. So that is the reason why I'm going with the same name. Okay. So if you change the name, you have to change the name in the pipeline script also. And here you can see it is asking to provide the server URL. So which server URL? SonarQube server URL. Copy the entire URL up to 9000. Okay, 9000. Paste it. And if you have copied the slash in the end, make sure to remove that slash. Don't keep the slash. It won't work if you keep. And then you can see server authentication token. Okay, server authentication token. So click on the drop down and we have just added sonar-token. Okay, we have just added the sonar-token. So select that one, sonar-token from the drop down. Okay. And then the next thing that we have to do is we need to configure the email credentials also. You will see an option which is called as extended email notification. So let me scroll down that particular option, extended email notification, because we need to get the email notifications, right? So you can say extended email notification. And here we need to give the SMTP server. So the SMTP server for Gmail is something which has to be given as smtp.gmail.com. Okay, this is the SMTP server name, smtp.gmail.com. So the SMTP port is 465. Okay, this is the SMTP port. So click on advanced and here click on credentials. So we have added the email credentials, right? So click on that one and select the email-credits. So this is how you can configure it. Now, once you do this one, then we have to use the SSL. Okay, select the SSL and check use O authentication 2.0. That option also you have to select. Right. And then the next thing that we have to do is we have to go with the email notification also. If you scroll down a little bit down, you will see that particular option called email notification. You can see it here, right? So here also we should give the server name as smtp.gmail.com, smtp.gmail.com. And you don't have to give default user email suffix. That's not required. And the next thing that we have to do is click on advanced. Okay, click on advanced. And here select use SMTP authentication. And here what you have to provide is you have to provide the user. So what is my username? My username is email ID. So provide the email ID for which you want to get the email notification. So I'm giving the email ID and here password. Password is the token, the app password, whatever you have generated, paste that app password. Okay, we have generated from the Gmail, if you remember, right? That app password you have to provide. Make sure to remove the spaces between the characters, right? Once you do this one, the next thing that we have to do is we have to provide the use SSL. Okay, we have to provide the use SSL and SMTP port is 465. That's the default port. You cannot change that. And then reply to address. Reply to email. That is, I am going to provide my own email ID so that any replies will come to that particular email ID. And character set, I am giving it as UTF-8. And then click on test configuration by sending test email so that you will get a test email. So just give the email ID here so that whatever email ID you are giving here, for that email ID, you are going to get the test email. So let me click on test configuration and you can see the email sent successfully. Okay, you can see email was successfully sent. We will see that email in some time. Okay, you'll see that email in some time. But before that, let us do one more configuration to get the email. Whenever build fails or whenever build success or whenever there is any change, I want to get an immediate email. So for that, you need to go for an option which is called as a default triggers. So scroll up, you will see an option called the default triggers. Can you see here? There is an option called the default triggers. If you don't find this one, just do Control F and then type default trigger so that you will directly go to that particular one. So click on default trigger dropdown. And here you can see when you want to get the email. Whenever the build fails, by default, we will get that email. But I want to know whenever the build success also, I want to get the email. So select always. Okay, select always. So whenever email gets success, I want to always get the email. So always failure any, and there is an option called success. So and then click on apply, save it. Like this, we can configure the SonarQube and also the email. Now let me go to my email and check whether we have got the test mail or not. Now here you can see I have just got the test email. If I open this one, you can see just now I got the email. 1 minute ago, I have received this particular email. Right. So this is how you can configure the email. Now the next and last thing that we have to do is we have to configure the SonarQube webhook. Okay, we have to configure the SonarQube webhook. So let us configure the SonarQube webhook also. Now, in order to configure the SonarQube webhook, we need to go to the SonarQube dashboard. Let me go to the SonarQube dashboard. Let me click on done. And here you can see an option called configuration. Okay, you can see an option called configuration. So click on configuration. And here you can see an option called webhooks. Okay, you can see an option called webhooks. So click on webhooks here. Okay, click on webhooks. Now, once you click on webhooks, we have to create a new webhook. So click on create so that it will ask us to create a new webhook. So just give Jenkins name. I'm giving it as Jenkins and where it should connect that to the Jenkins dashboard. So URL, you have to provide the Jenkins URL. So let me go to the Jenkins dashboard, copy this entire URL and go to the SonarQube dashboard, paste that URL. And once you paste it, at the end, what you have to do is SonarQube. Okay, SonarQube hyphen webhook. Okay, SonarQube hyphen webhook slash. This thing you should mandatorily give, just like how we give in GitHub webhooks. Here also you should give it in the same way. And here you can see secret. Secret is optional. You don't have to give that one. And then you can see an option called create. So just click on create so that the webhook will get created. okay, so that the webhook will get created. So this is how you can create the SonarQube webhook. Okay, this is how we can create the SonarQube webhook. Now, with all these configurations, we are ready to create the Jenkins pipeline. So let me show you the Jenkins pipeline script so that you'll get an idea what are the different stages that are available and how I have configured the different tools in the Jenkins. Let me show you the Jenkins pipeline script. So let us see what are the different stages I have added. So any pipeline will start with pipeline, agent is any. And since I'm using the external tools such as JDK and Node and also SonarQube. So I have given that configuration under tools. So if you remember, I have configured the JDK name as JDK 17 and Node.js name as Node 23 and SonarQube name as Sonar-scanner. If you remember, I have configured it in the Jenkins dashboard. So let me show you that also so that you'll get an idea. So just click on Manage Jenkins. In the Manage Jenkins, click on Tools. And here in the tools, if you see the tool name for JDK, I have given it as JDK 17. So whatever name that I have given here, the same name I should provide here also. And for Node also, I have provided the same thing. Okay, if you see the Node also, let me show you that Node also. Yeah, here you can see Node 23. Like this, whatever names that I have configured here, the same names I have given it in the pipeline script also. Okay, right. And then the stages. The first stage is I want to clean the existing workspace. So this is my stage name. Okay, clean workspace is my stage name. Under clean workspace, it is going to perform this particular step, which is called as clean workspace. It is going to clean the existing workspace. And then it is going to get the source code from the GitHub repository. Okay, this is my stage name, which is called as Git checkout. And this is where my source code is available. I was showing the repository sometime back, right? So this repository I have configured there. Okay, this repository I have configured. And then the next stage I have given it as SonarQube analysis. Okay, it is going to perform the SonarQube analysis. And I have, you can see all the SonarQube details I have given. Okay, all the SonarQube details I have given. So if you remember here, I have given the project name as ZOMATO. Okay, since we are deploying the ZOMATO based application, I have given the project name as ZOMATO and the project key also as ZOMATO. And remember, this is my Sonar server name, which I have configured in the Manage Jenkins tools part. And the quality gate, it is going to perform the quality gate by connecting to the SonarQube token. So we have generated the SonarQube token, right? By using that particular credential, it is going to get the SonarQube code quality gate. So I'll just keep it in capital letters, quality gate. Okay, or you can also keep it as code quality gate. This is just the stage name. Okay, this is the stage name. And then the next thing is it is going to install one NPM dependency. Okay, for this project, NPM installation is required. So it is going to install the NPM dependency. And this is the command to install NPM dependency. And then it is going to perform the OWASP file system scan. Okay, OWASP file system scan. And here you can see the name of OWASP file system scan, that is dependency check. I have given it as a DP-check. So whatever name that I have given, the same name I have configured here. And the entire report I will be getting into this particular file, dependency-check-report.xml file. Okay, we will see that file also in some time once the pipeline gets triggered and the build is successful. And then Trivy file system scan stage is the next one. So what it will do is whatever the file system scan that is going to perform, all that report will be available in this particular file, which is called as trivy.txt. This file we haven't created. Jenkins will automatically create that file. And inside this file, all the things will be available which are related to the file system scanning, which are done by using Trivy. And then it is going to build the Docker image. That is my next stage, build a Docker image. And this is the command to build the Docker image. And this is my image name. Okay, since we are deploying a ZOMATO application, so I have just given the image name as ZOMATO. And dot represents current working directory. So once the image is built, it has to tag the image and it has to push the image to the Docker Hub. So in order to tag and push the image to the Docker Hub, so I have configured the Docker Hub credentials. With this name, I have configured the Docker Hub credentials, if you remember. And here you need to do some changes. So this is my image name. So whatever the name that you have given here, the same name you should give here also. And then if you see it here, this is my Docker Hub username. Now, in your case, you will have your own Docker Hub username. So make sure to give your own Docker Hub username. If you give this particular Docker Hub username when you are practicing, it won't work. Remember that. So whatever is your Docker Hub username, that name you have to give it. Make sure of it. And then give the image name, whatever you have given it here, make sure to give the same name. And whenever you rebuild, it will take the latest image. So this is the tag. Latest is the tag. Okay, latest is the tag. And then it will push the image to Docker Hub. Which Docker Hub? My Docker Hub. So in your case, you will have your own Docker Hub username. So give your own Docker Hub username. And this is the latest ZOMATO image. So whatever name you have given here, the same name you give it here also, so that this latest image will be pushed to this particular Docker Hub. Once this is done, then it is going to perform the Docker Scout analysis. So it is going to perform the image analysis by using Docker Scout. And here also, I have given the tool name as a Docker. Credentials, I have given it as Docker, which we have configured in the Jenkins. And then I have given the Docker Hub username, the image, latest image it has to perform every time. And then it is going to do the latest image performance again. And then all the recommendations will be made for this particular image. I mean, this one, which is available in this particular Docker Hub account. So this is all related to the Docker Scout analysis. Once this is done, then it is going to deploy into the Docker container. Now, in order to deploy the application into the Docker container, I am going to run the command in order to create and run the container. Now, Docker run -d. -d represents a detached mode. -- name. This is my Docker container name, the application container name, ZOMATO. And I am going to open the application in port number 3000. Okay, I'm going to open the application in port number 3000. So whenever I give the port number 3000, I will be able to see the application, the ZOMATO application. And how this application will get created? It will be created by using the Docker image, whichever is the Docker latest image. By using this Docker latest image, the Docker container called ZOMATO will get created, and that container will be running in port number 3000. And where this image is available, it is available in my Docker Hub. So give the Docker Hub username in your own case when you are practicing. And then the last step is a post-build action, which is email. So I want to get the email notification. Okay, what is the job name, which build it got, all those details I have given. So these are the different things that we are going to get. And finally, we are also going to get the trivy.txt file. Because in this file, we will get the information related to the Trivy file system scan. So this is how you can configure the entire pipeline script. So make sure to read this pipeline script very carefully before you are practicing so that you'll get an idea. So I'll just copy this entire pipeline script, and then I'll go to the Jenkins dashboard. And now let me create the Jenkins job, pipeline job. So go to the Jenkins dashboard, click on new item, and give the item name as ZOMATO. I'm just giving it as ZOMATO project Kastro. Okay, you can give any name since it's a ZOMATO related one. I'm just giving it as ZOMATO. And then pipeline. So click on pipeline. And once you click on pipeline, click on OK. And here is where we have to paste the pipeline. So click on pipeline here and then paste the pipeline script. Okay, but don't directly click on apply and save because we need to give this particular thing. Okay, GitHub URL we have to get. Now, how will you generate this GitHub URL is once after you fork this repository, make sure to fork the repository. Once after you fork the repository, if you click on code, okay, if you click on code, you can see the GitHub repository URL. So copy the GitHub repository URL, go to the Jenkins dashboard. Here you can see an option called pipeline syntax. So open that one in a new tab. So I'm just opening that in the new tab. So open that in the new tab. And here we have to generate that pipeline script. So sample step, you select Git and then provide the repository URL. Okay, provide the repository URL. Make sure to fork the repository. Okay, right. And once you do that, make sure in which branch the code is available. Let me check that one. So where is that? Just give me a second. Yeah. So the code is available in the master branch only. You can see it here. So give the master branch name. If it is available in any other branch, you give that branch. Credentials we don't have to configure because it's a public repository only. So there is no need to configure the GitHub credentials. Okay, right. And then click on generate pipeline script. Once you generate it, copy this entire pipeline script, and then go to the Jenkins dashboard, paste it here. Okay, paste it here. This is most important. Don't forget to do this. I'll paste it here. That's it. So with this, the entire pipeline is also ready now. You can see the entire pipeline stages, whatever we have done. So now let me click on apply. Let me click on save. So with this, we have successfully configured everything. Now we have to build the pipeline. Now currently you see there are no builds that are currently available. So let me click on build now so that the pipeline will get triggered. So you can see build is scheduled now. Now after some time, you will be seeing the pipeline stage-wise execution. You can see the pipeline is getting executed. It got triggered actually. So the first build, #1 represents the first build. And now let's see the stage-wise execution. Okay, let's see the stage-wise execution. It will take some time because this particular project will be having a very lengthy thing. So, and as I said earlier in the previous video, OWASP file system scan will take at least half an hour to complete the entire file system scan. So we have to wait for half an hour. So let it come so that we can see how the pipeline script is getting executed. Now here you can see there are different stages which got executed so far. So the first thing, it has installed all the tools and then it has cleaned the workspace. And the next stage is it has got the code from the GitHub repository. And then it has performed the SonarQube analysis, the code quality gate analysis also completed. And then it has installed the NPM. And now currently it is performing the OWASP file system scanning. Okay, currently it is performing the OWASP file system scan. So it will take at least half an hour to complete this file system scan. But here, what I have done is I have skipped this particular stage. Okay, just to make sure that it won't take much time, I have skipped this particular stage. So that is the reason why you can see it as unstable build. But however, the complete pipeline will get triggered. So there is no problem with that. The complete pipeline will get triggered. So let me show you that also. Just it will take more time. So for that reason, I have skipped this stage. But anyway, I'll show this particular thing also in some time. Okay, how to edit this one and what are the changes that you have to do. That thing also I'll let you know. This thing we have already seen in the last session. So since we have already discussed this particular thing in the previous video where I have talked about the Swiggy application deployment. So I have just skipped this particular stage. But yeah, the next thing you can see, it is performing the Trivy file system scanning, and then it is building the Docker image also. Once the Docker image is built, it is going to tag and push the Docker image. Okay, and then it is going to create the container. Inside the container, our application will be running. Let us wait and see that particular thing as. So currently you can see Docker build image stage also completed. It has tagged the image and it has pushed the image to the Docker hub. That is also done. Now it is performing the Docker Scout analysis. So meanwhile, let us go to the Docker hub and let's verify whether we got the image or not. So let me go to the Docker hub, and currently you don't see any image here. Just reload the Docker hub account so that you should be able to see the ZOMATO image. So let's verify whether we got the ZOMATO image or not. Can you see here? Last update, last pushed 2 minutes ago. So this is the latest image which got available from the pipeline script. That is, Jenkins has pushed the image once after it has created the image called ZOMATO. So you can see the details of the image as well. So the tag is the latest image and the type is image, and you can see when it got pulled, when it got pushed, and all other details of the image as well. This is how you can push the image. So let me show you the pipeline stage execution. And once it gets executed successfully, then we can see whether Docker container also got created. We have to run the, we have to see the application as well. Now you can see the entire pipeline stage has got successfully built. But for this particular one, that is OWASP file system scan stage, that is currently unstable build. But if you see the status of the entire pipeline, you can see it here, it got failed here. But that's not a problem because this is an unstable build, but rest of the stages has got successfully built. I'll give you the complete pipeline script and I'll tell you what changes we can make so that this OWASP file system scan also will be successfully completed. Instead of unstable build, we should see something like success, like in the green color. Here you can see it is in the yellow color. But let us access the application. Now you can see the application has got successfully deployed into the container. So since the application got deployed into the container, we have to access the application. But on which port number the application is going to run, that we have to know. Now, in order to know that, in the GitHub repository, I have given a Docker file. By using this Docker file only, everything got executed. Let me show you that. Now you can see, first it has pulled the node image, and then it has created the working directory, that is /app, and then it has copied the package.json file, and then it has installed the npm dependency, and then it has copied the application code, and then it has run the npm build, and currently our application is running on port number 3000. So this is where our application is going to run. And then it is going to start the application. Now, by using this Docker file only, this entire pipeline has got triggered. That is Docker build image, Docker deploy to container, Docker push and tag the image. These three stages were successful because of the Docker file, which is available in the GitHub repository. So make sure if you don't have the Docker file, it won't work. But this is how you can write the Docker file. The detailed explanation of the Docker file is something which I have explained now. So this is the same thing that you have to give it when you are working also. Now we have to access the application. In which port number? Port number 3000. So let me open port number 3000 for the EC2 instance for which we have created and deployed the application. So let me select the EC2 instance, and for that EC2 instance, we have to open port number 3000. Okay, so let me select that particular thing first. So I'm just going to select the EC2 instance, that is ZOMATO server. Let me copy the public IP address also at a time. So and then go to security. In the security, under security groups, you will see one link. So just click on that link so that you can edit the inbound rules. So let the link come so that we can edit the inbound rules. So you can see the link. So click on the link and then open port number 3000, because that is where our application is going to run. So click on edit inbound rules and then click on add rule, give the port number as a 3000 and source as anywhere IPv4, click on save rules. Now let us access the application. So go to a new tab. In the new tab, paste the application, paste the public IP address, :3000. So 3000 is the port which I have opened in the Docker file, if you see it here. Okay. So that is why our application will also run on the port number 3000. So let me press enter so that you will be able to see that ZOMATO application. Can you see the application now? So currently, this is how we can deploy the application. Okay, this is how we can deploy the application into the Docker container. If you see, this entire application has been deployed into the Docker container, not into the Kubernetes cluster. Okay, not into the Kubernetes cluster. Since we have deployed it successfully into the Docker container, we are going to get an email notification. Okay, we will be getting an email notification. That also we will see it in some time. So as I was mentioning, this is the whole application, which is currently, the application is not developed by me. It was cloned from other GitHub repositories which are available. It's an open source public repository only. So I have cloned and I have made a couple of changes to this particular code. So this is how you can deploy the application into the Docker container. So this is all about deploying the application into the Docker container. But here, as a part of this video, this is not the final part. Okay, this is not the final part. Yes, we have deployed the application into the Docker container. That is what ultimately we were looking for. But there is a next level for this project. The next level is deploying the same application. Whatever application we are seeing here, this is currently running in the Docker container. Okay, this is currently running in the Docker container. But I want to deploy the same application into the Kubernetes cluster. Okay, into the Kubernetes cluster. And also I want to monitor the application performance by using Prometheus and Grafana. So that is the second part of this video. Let us also verify whether the Docker images, that is ZOMATO image, and also the Docker ZOMATO container got created or not. So how will you verify that? The Docker images, you can see the ZOMATO image which got pulled to the Docker hub. Okay, Kastro V is my Docker hub username. Let us also verify the Docker container which is related to the ZOMATO application. You can see the Docker container which got created by using this particular image, and this is my container name. ZOMATO is my container. So when it got created, 10 minutes ago, it got created. So this is how you can see whether application image and also the container got created or not. Since the container is successfully running, that is the reason why we are able to see the application which is running inside a container. Now here, one thing that you have to remember is, suppose if you do the build for the second time. Okay, let's say that I will click on build now for one more time. When you click on build now for one more time, what will happen is the deploy to container, this particular stage will get failed. The reason why this particular stage will get failed is currently the application is already running on port number 3000. Okay, currently the application is already running on port number 3000. So when you click on build now one more time, what will happen is the same application, I mean the second build cannot run on the same port number, that is 3000 port number, because the 3000 port number is already allocated to the this particular image. Let me show you that one so that practically you will be understanding that one. So I'll just click on build now. So you can see the build has got triggered. Okay, the build has got triggered. Now all the stages will get successfully created except this OWASP file system scan. This one I'll tell it in some time. But this is the stage where it will get failed. So now here you can see the second build. What happened is in the second build, this is okay, like the OWASP file system scan stage. This is unstable build. And here you can see deploy to container. This particular stage has got built. So what is the reason for that? The reason is since already the application is running in the existing container, so with the same port number, it can't run one more time with the same port number. So that is the reason whenever you are building for the second time, what you have to do is you have to stop and remove the old container. Okay, you have to stop and remove the old container. So let me show you how to do that one. So go to the go to the mobile system. Now, if you do Docker PS, you can see the container that is currently available. Okay, the container that is available. Now, let me stop the container. So Docker stop, give the container name. What is my container name? ZOMATO is my container name. So click enter so that that particular container will get stopped. Now, once the container got stopped, let us remove that container. The command is docker rm, give the container name so that that particular container will get removed. Now, if you do Docker PS, you will no longer see the ZOMATO container. Earlier, we were seeing the ZOMATO container. Now, we are only seeing the SonarQube container. Now, if you do the build one more time, okay, now if you do the build one more time, the build will be successful. Let me show you this particular thing, how to avoid this particular stage. That means how to build this stage properly so that the entire pipeline will be successful. Let me show you that one. So I have updated the OWASP file system scan stage. Now you can see it took 9 minutes to get this particular stage to pass, and then the entire pipeline is also successful. So you can see all the rest of the stages like preview file system scan, building the Docker image, tagging and pushing the Docker image to the Docker hub, and then the Docker Scout image analysis, and then deploy to container. That is the Docker image got deployed to the container, and then container is also successfully running. And the final post-build actions also got completed. So this is the final stage where it got the complete pipeline script has got updated, and it is a successful completion of the project task. And you can see the application is also running in the same port number, which is 3000. So this is what something which we have seen in the previously also. But in the previous case, there was one difference, that is OWASP file system scan stage was unstable build. Now you can see the build is also success for this particular stage, and the entire pipeline is also success. The updated pipeline script I have kept in the GitHub repository, so you can also use that particular thing when you are working. But by any chance, if you get the OWASP file system scan stage as unstable build, you don't have to bother about that, because I have created the pipeline in such a way that even this particular stage is showing unstable build, the rest of the stages will get succeeded. So now, as a second part of the video, we are going to see how to set up the monitoring of the application, that is by using Prometheus and Grafana, and also how to deploy the same application, whatever we are seeing now, into the Kubernetes cluster. So I'll be talking about firstly how to set up the Prometheus Grafana. And once that is done, then I'll be talking about how to create the Kubernetes cluster by using the AWS console and also the different options that we are going to see. And finally, we are going to set up the Argo CD as well. And then we will access the application by using the Kubernetes cluster load balancer. So these are the different things that we are going to see now as a second part of this video. Right. So firstly, let us launch one EC2 instance. And in that EC2 instance, we are going to install the Prometheus and Grafana. So let me go for the EC2 dashboard, click on launch instance. And here I'm going to name of the instance as monitoring server. So you can give any name to the server, any name to the EC2 instance. Since this particular instance I'm going to use for the monitoring of the application, I'm just giving the name as a monitoring server, right? Once that is done, then I'm going to select the Ubuntu based instance and Ubuntu 24.04. This is the latest one, which I'm going to use for the monitoring of the application as well. And here also, we cannot go with t2.micro. So we need to use t2.large instance so that we can install the Prometheus and Grafana and other required configurations as well. So I'm going to select the t2.large. And key pair also, if you want, you can create a new key pair, or if you have the existing key pair, you can select the existing key pair as well. For both instances, that is for Jenkins server and also for monitoring server, you can use the same key pair. There won't be any issues with that. And then I'm going to create a new security group. And once when we are working with the Prometheus and Grafana, I will show which port number you have to open for that one. And the storage capacity, I'm going to go with 29 GB, which is of maximum storage capacity is 30 GB. So I'm just giving 29 GB, 1 GB less than the maximum GB. And the number of instances I need is only one instance. Let me click on launch instance now. Right. Now you can see the Prometheus, that is monitoring server, is getting launched. Meanwhile, what I will do in the mobile XM terminal is I'll just rename this particular tab because this tab is related to the ZOMATO server. And in the next tab, I'll be opening the monitoring server. So let us see how to connect to that EC2 instance. So let us verify first whether instance got launched or not. You can see instance has successfully launched. And you can see monitoring server is currently in the running state. So let me copy the public IP address, go to the mobile XM, click on session, and then SSH, paste the public IP address of the monitoring server. And by default, Ubuntu instances has the username as Ubuntu. Specify use private key, click on the file icon, and then select the key pair file, whatever you have used to launch the monitoring server. Right. So now we are successfully connected to the monitoring server as well. Here you can see I'm going to rename the tab, which is monitoring server. So when you are practicing, you just have an idea about in which tab I am going to install what kind of configuration. So I'm just renaming this tab as monitoring server. And the first tab is related to the ZOMATO server, where our application is currently running in the Docker container. So once after connecting to the EC2 instance, let me switch to the root user by executing the command sudo su. Now, if you do who am I, you can see I'm the root user, right? So in the monitoring server, I'm going to execute all the commands which are required to set up the Prometheus first. So first thing that we have to do is we have to add an user. Okay, we have to add an user so that the Prometheus is going to work. So in order to add the user, this is the command to add the user. So the user has got added. Now what we will do is we will get the Prometheus tar file by using the wget command. So let me copy this command and let me paste it here so that the Prometheus tar file will get downloaded into the EC2 server. Once the tar file gets downloaded, we need to extract the tar file. Okay, if you do ls, you can see the tar file has got downloaded. Now, how will you extract a tar file? The command is tar space -xvf and then give the tar file name so that whatever the contents that are available inside the tar file, those will get extracted. Now, if you do ls, you can see this is the extracted directory and this is the tar file. Now, let me switch to the extracted directory. So cd space the file name. So what is the file name? Prometheus -amd64. In the end, it is there. Now, you can see I am currently there inside the Prometheus directory. Now, once you go inside this directory, we need to execute a couple of commands. That is, first we need to create a directory and then we have to move a couple of files. And finally, we are going to get the prometheus.yml file. And once we get that file, we need to edit the prometheus.yml file. Let me show you those things one by one. So first, I'm going to create a directory by using mkdir command. And then I'm going to move the files into the particular thing. So let me execute that thing as well. And then I'm going to execute this command also so that it is going to move to /etc/prometheus path. So let me paste that particular path also. Let me just copy that one more time. And then let me paste it here. Just give me a second. So I'm just going to copy that particular thing here as well. Now that is also done. And the next thing that we have to do is we need to go to the prometheus.yml file. So I'm just moving that particular file from one directory to another directory. So that is that particular command, which is called a sudo mv. Right, I have moved the file. Now we have the prometheus.yml file. Now what we have to do is we need to give the permissions for that. Okay, ownership permissions for that. So in order to give the ownership permissions, this is the command to give the ownership permissions. I'm just using chown command, that is chown command. And now what we have to do is we need to create a systemd configuration for the Prometheus. So for that, we need to open this particular file, that is prometheus.service file. And this file is available in this particular path. Okay, that is what we have done earlier. Right. So let me open that file by using sudo vi command. Now, once that file is opened, then we have to give a couple of things inside this one. Okay, we have to give couple of things. So let me go to the insert mode, and here you can see whatever the contents that are available, add all these contents. So these are something which are required in order to execute the prometheus.service file. Okay, prometheus.service file. Just give all these configurations so that I'll be explaining these ones in some time now. So I'm just going to paste all these things and then press escape :WQ. Now let me explain what are these contents. Now here you can see a brief explanation of the key parts of all these things I have also already provided here. So you can also read these particular things, what exactly these things mean. So now user and group specify the Linux user and group under which Prometheus will run. That is the first thing that we have done. And then exec start is the command where you specify the Prometheus binary path. Okay, where that particular file, that is prometheus.yml file, will be used for that. And then these are the commands which are used to listen to that particular port number, that is 9090. Okay, and once that is done, we need to enable the Prometheus, and then we need to start the Prometheus, and then we will check the status of the Prometheus as well. So this is the command to enable the Prometheus. And here we need to start the Prometheus. So in order to start the Prometheus, I'm just giving the command as a start here. Prometheus also got started. Now let us check the status of the Prometheus file. Okay, Prometheus pod. So let me click status. Now you can see Prometheus is active and running. So let me come out of it, press Ctrl+C for that. Now we have set up the Prometheus. Now let us access the Prometheus server. Okay, let us access the Prometheus. As I was mentioning, by default, Prometheus is going to run on port number 9090. That is what we have given here. If you remember here, web listen -address. So I'm going to tell Prometheus to access in this particular port number, that is 9090. Now what we have to do is we have to open port number 9090 for the monitoring server. Remember, not for the ZOMATO server, for the monitoring server. So let me click on the security groups here, and then go to edit inbound rules, and then click on add rule. So custom TCP, and then the port number is 9090. Source is anywhere IPv4, and then click on save rules. Now, once this is done, copy the public IP address of the Prometheus server, that is monitoring server, paste it here, and then :9090. Once this is done, you will be able to see the Prometheus dashboard. So this is the Prometheus dashboard where we are going to do a couple of activities here. Now, if you want to see the status, so you can see there is an option called status. Click on the drop down, and here you can see there is an option called targets. Now here you can see the Prometheus which we have just added up, and this is where the Prometheus metrics are going to come up. Now currently you can see the state of the Prometheus, which is currently up and running, and this is how we can set up the Prometheus. Now once the Prometheus setup is completed, the next thing that we have to do is we need to install the node exporter. Okay, we need to install the node exporter. So that's our next step, which is installing the node exporter. So first, let me switch to the directory, that is by executing cd command. So if you execute cd command, currently I am in the tilde path, that is /root path. Right. So here is where we need to create a system user for node exporter, and then that particular user will be helpful to download the node exporter. So first, let me add the user for the node exporter, and then we will download the node exporter by using wget command. So I have added the user. So let me execute this command to get the node exporter tar file. So let me paste that command also. Now you can see the node exporter tar file is successfully getting downloaded. Now you can see the tar file of node exporter has got successfully downloaded. Now, once that is done, we have to extract the tar file, and then we have to move that, and then we have to clean that one also. Okay, let me execute that one as well. So I'm just executing tar file where the tar file will get extracted. Now you can see the node exporter directory has got created. Now let me switch to the particular directory, but before switching to that, let me move a couple of things here. So sudo mv command I'm going to use to move a couple of things from node exporter group. And once that is done, then we need to remove the node exporter tar file because we no longer need that one. This particular step is completely optional. If you want, you can do that. Otherwise, if you don't do also, that won't be any issues. Right. Now, if you do ls, you can see the particular directory is available now. So, right, let me clear the screen now. Now, the next thing that we have to do is we have to create a systemd configuration for the node export. So that particular file we need to have. And once we get that file, we need to add some configurations into that file. So let me click I, press I character in the keyboard and add all these things so that the whatever the node exporter command installation is required, all those things will be installed. So just copy all these things and then paste it in the file, press enter, go to press escape :WQ to come out of the node exporter.service file. Now, once that is done, we need to enable the node exporter service, and then we will start the node exporter service, and then we will check the status of the node exporter service also. So I have currently enabled. So let me start the node exporter service. The node exporter service has got started. Now let me check the status of the node exporter as well. So sudo systemctl status node exporter. Now you can see the node exporter is also currently in the running state. So let me press Ctrl C to come out of it. So once that is done, you can see the node exporter is currently in the running state. That is what we have just seen some time back. Right. Once that is done, press Ctrl C for that. Now we have configured all the Prometheus things. Now the next thing that we have to do is we need to configure one plugin for the Prometheus integration. Okay, we need to configure one plugin for the Prometheus integration. So as of now, we created the Prometheus service. But what we need to do is we need to add a job in order to fetch the details by node exporter. So what node exporter will do? Node exporter is going to get all the details from the application. So for that, what we need to do is we need to create two jobs. One job for node exporter and another job for Jenkins. Now here, when I say the jobs, we are not going to create a new pipeline jobs in the Jenkins dashboard. We are not going to do that. But instead, what we are going to do is we are going to configure the system files here. So I'll show you how to do that configuration. Right. So let us see how to do the Prometheus configuration. Now, why we are doing that Prometheus configuration? Because we need to create two groups, two jobs. One is node exporter and the other one is Jenkins. And these two things we are going to integrate with Jenkins so that the Prometheus will be able to monitor the CI/CD pipeline. Okay, whatever is the CI/CD pipeline, it is going to monitor it. So now to configure the Prometheus, in order to get the scrape metrics, what we need to do is we need to modify this particular file, which is called as prometheus.yml file. Now, where this file is available, it will be there in /etc/prometheus path. So let me go to that particular directory. So cd space /etc/prometheus. So let me clear the screen here and let me execute that command. I'll be going to the Prometheus directory. So if you do pwd, you can see I'm currently there in the Prometheus path. Now, if you do ls, you can see prometheus.yml file is available. So in this file, we need to do the editings. So let me go to that file, that is sudo vi prometheus.yml file. I'm currently inside the file. Now here, go to the extreme bottom of the page. Okay, go to the extreme bottom of the page. Let me show you what is the configuration. So you will see the content and there is a default job called Prometheus job. So let me show you that job also. Now here you can see there is a job which is called as Prometheus job. You can see job name, which is Prometheus job. This is the default one. And this is the default port number where our currently Prometheus is running. Right. So now what we have to do is we need to add some configurations here. So let me press enter here. Now let me copy all these things. So I was telling we need to add the node exporter job and we need to add the Jenkins job. So where we are adding that? We are adding in the prometheus.yml file. These configurations are very, very important. So make sure to give these configurations properly. So let me press press backspace and let me paste all of these things so that make sure the indentations are properly given. You can see the job name indentations are properly given and then metrics. Now here we need to do a couple of changes. One thing is here we need to provide the monitoring server IP address. So let me provide the monitoring server IP address. So go to the EC2 instance of the monitoring server, and here we need to provide the IP address. Okay, we need to provide the IP address, the public IP address of the monitoring server. So let me select this one, copy the public IP address of the monitoring server, go here, and then here just remove this monitoring VM IP. This is not required. So in the place of this one, we have to provide the monitoring server public IP address. Remember that, right? And once that is done, the next thing that we have to do is we need to provide the Jenkins server IP address also. What is that mean by Jenkins server? That is our ZOMATO server. Okay, because this is where our Jenkins is running. So copy the public IP address of the ZOMATO server, go to here, and then paste the public IP address of the ZOMATO server. Along with that, we need to provide the port number where Jenkins is running. So Jenkins is running at port number 8080. So remove all the unnecessary things which are not required for us. So this is how you can add the jobs in the Prometheus.yml file. So press escape :WQ. That's it. Okay. So we have added the jobs. Now what we need to do is we need to check the validity of the configuration file, whether it is properly configured or not. If you have properly configured, you will see an option called success. Can you see it here? So that means when you see success, that means Prometheus.yml file is properly configured. If you don't see success, you must have made some mistakes. So please check that one when you are practicing and carefully have an eye on that. And now what we will do is we are going to reload the Prometheus configuration without restarting the Prometheus. So for that, we are going to use this thing. So why we are reloading it? Because we have done a couple of changes in the Prometheus.yml file. So for that, we need to reload it. Now let us access the Prometheus dashboard. Now we have already have the Prometheus dashboard. Let me show you that. So this is the Prometheus dashboard. So just reload it so that you will be able to see under targets, you will be able to see a couple of other options also. That is a node exporter job you will see, and also the Jenkins job you will see. Why we will see that once? Because we have added those jobs in the Prometheus.yml file. That is node exporter job and also the Jenkins job. Now, if you don't see that one, you can see the node exporter job is there, Prometheus job is also there. But here for node exporter, you can see it is available in the red color, and you can see 0/1 up. That means node exporter is currently not running. The reason why this is not running is if you observe in this one, you can see node exporter is running on which port number? Port number 9000. Okay, port number 9000. But we haven't opened port number 9100 for the monitoring server. So let me open that particular thing. And then if you reload, we will be able to see the Prometheus, the node exporter job also. So let me click on launch wizard and then click on edit inbound rules, add rule, custom TCP. The node exporter is going to run on port number 9100. So anywhere IPv4, click on save rules. So once the rules are saved, just go to the Prometheus dashboard, just reload the page. Now you don't see the node exporter in red color. You will see node exporter in the blue color, because of which we have added port number 9100 for the Prometheus server. Okay, you can see that. So let us verify that one here also. So now you can see the node exporter is currently in the running state. It is also up and running. Now, if you click on show more options for Jenkins, you will see a endpoint. So if you open this endpoint, and this is where the metrics are going to run. Okay, these are the scrap metrics, which we will call. So these metrics, we don't have to understand on a large scale, but it's good to have an idea about these ones. And for node exporter group also, if you click on show more, you can see the node exporter metrics are also available in this particular link. Okay, all the metrics will be available here. Again, currently, we don't have to bother much about these metrics because we will use the Grafana dashboard to get the metrics. Okay, right. So let me click on show less options here. Right. So currently, you can see all the targets have been added. Now, once the targets have been added, then what we are going to do is we need to work with the next part, which is called as a Grafana installation. Okay, Prometheus is going to get the metrics. Now that metrics, we are going to keep it in the Grafana dashboard. So Grafana helps us to visualize the things in a better way. So the Prometheus part is to get the metrics, and that metrics, we are going to keep it in the Grafana dashboard. So what Grafana will do, Grafana will give us a better view about how the metrics are running. So that is the part why we have first installed the Prometheus, and then we are installing now the Prometheus. So currently, let me check the path where I am there. If you do PWD, I am there in /etc/Prometheus path. So that is the path that I have given here also. Right. Now let us install Grafana on the monitoring server. So in order to install the Grafana, first let me update these things, and then let me install the couple of other softwares that are required to set up the Grafana dashboard. So let me paste both the commands so that first update will happen, and then it is going to install a particular file which is called as a transport file. Okay, transport-https file. And once that is done, we need to add the GPG key. Now, in order to add the GPG key, this is the command for that. Okay, so let me copy this entire command, and then let me switch to the directory. So let it get installed. Once this installation is successful, then we have to switch the directory. So let me click that. Now the installation is done. Now let me do CD. Now currently you are there in /root path. Now what we have to do is we need to get the packages for Grafana so that we can add the GPG key. Right now you can see OK here. So when you see OK, that means you have successfully added the GPG key. And once that is done, we need to add the Grafana repository. So these are all the configurations that we have to do. So again, in real-time scenarios, you don't have to remember all of these commands because we will be using the documentation in the real-time scenarios when we are creating the project architecture or the project configurations and all those things. Right. I have added the Grafana repository. Now let me update it, and then let me install the Grafana also. Okay, so sudo apt update will update the existing packages, and this particular command will install the Grafana. So let me press enter so that first it will get updated, and once the update is done, it is going to install the Grafana dashboard. Okay, Grafana software. Now once the installation is successful, then we have to automatically start the Grafana. Okay, we have to start the Grafana. For that, first we need to enable it, then we need to start it, and then we have to check the status of the Grafana. So let me first enable the Grafana. Once after the installation is done, you can see the installation is successful. Right. Let me enable the Grafana server, and then we are going to start the Grafana server by using sudo systemctl start, and then we are going to check the status whether Grafana is properly running or not. So let me press enter. You can see Grafana is also active and run. So press Ctrl+C to come out of it. So with this, we have set up the Grafana also. Okay, we have set up the Grafana also. Now, the default port number of Grafana is 3000. Okay, the default port number of Grafana is 3000. So let me open the default port number of Grafana in the monitoring server. Okay, make sure the configurations what I'm doing, please remember these ones. So don't do one configurations for another server so that you will not get any kind of problems. Okay, click on save rules. Now let me copy the IP address, that is public IP of the monitoring server, and let me go to a new tab. And in the new tab, what I will do is I will get the Grafana dashboard. So Grafana will run on port number 3000. That's the default one. So you can say Grafana is getting initialized. Once the initialization is completed, we have to enter the username and password. So the default username for Grafana and the default password is admin. So let me press admin and let me type admin, press enter. If you want, you can create a new password. So, or otherwise you can also have the option to skip it. So when you click on skip, the password and ID will be admin. But if you set up a new password, so you can enter the new password, and then whenever you are trying to re-log in next time, you have to enter this new password. So let me click on submit so that the username and password, the password has been changed. Now we will be able to access the Grafana console or Grafana dashboard. Now here we need to do a couple of configurations. Okay, we need to add some data sources here. So in order to add the data sources, let me go to the Prometheus browser. And in the Prometheus, we have two options. One is called as connections and the other one is called as data sources. So let me click on data sources. If you want, you can also add it in the connections as well. So the connections option will be available in this particular tab. You can see there is an option called connections here. Just under alerting, you can see the option called connections. You can either click on connections or you can also click on data sources. So let me click on data sources here. Now in the data sources, we need to add the data source. Okay, select Prometheus and then enable the default toggle bar. So click on Prometheus here. So I'm going to add the Prometheus data source. You can see data source has got added. Now here you can see Prometheus and make sure to enable this toggle bar. Once that is done, the next thing that we have to do is we need to enter the Prometheus URL here. Okay, we need to enter the Prometheus URL. So Prometheus is running on a particular IP address, right? So that IP address we have to provide. So which IP address we have to provide? The IP address of the monitoring server. Okay, the IP address of the monitoring server you have to provide. So this is the IP address of the monitoring server, and this is where Prometheus is running. So by default, Prometheus is running on port number 9000. So 9090. Make sure you should not place the slash button at the end. Slash symbol at the end. Remove the slash symbol if you have already kept it. So once you remove the slash, scroll down to the bottom and click on save and test. Now, if you have configured everything properly, you will be able to see an option called success. You can see successfully queried the Prometheus API. That's it. Now, this is how we can add the Prometheus data source. Now, the next thing that we have to do is we need to add the dashboards. Okay, we need to add the dashboards. So two dashboards we have to add. One dashboard is for Prometheus and another dashboard is for Jenkins. Okay, one dashboard is for Grafana node exporter dashboard and the other one is Jenkins, not the Prometheus dashboard, Grafana node exporter dashboard. Now, how will you add the node exporter dashboard? Now, in order to add the node exporter dashboard, we need to get an ID. Okay, we need to get an ID. Now, first, let me show you how to add the node exporter dashboard or any dashboard for that matter. Now, you can see on the top right side, there is an option called plus button. So click on the plus button. And here you can see an option called import dashboard. If you want, you can create a new dashboard, or if you want, you can also get the existing dashboards also. In real time, we don't prefer to create a new dashboard because we already have the existing dashboard and we will import those existing dashboards only. So click on import dashboard. And here you can see it is asking to provide an dashboard URL or the ID. But how will you get this one? So in order to get that one, I have given the link also. So you have to go to this particular URL where you are going to get the Grafana node exporter dashboard ID. Okay, let me go to a new tab. In the new tab, just paste the URL, click enter, and here you will be getting an ID there. So let me show you that option also. So you can see node exporter dashboard. So this is how the node exporter dashboard will look like. Now, in order to get this dashboard into our Grafana thing, so we need to add the ID. So you can see if you scroll down a little bit in the right side, you can see an option called copy ID to clipboard. So let me click on copy ID to clipboard, go to the Grafana and then paste it here and then click on load so that the dashboard will get added here. Okay, the dashboard will get added. And then here you can see there is an option called Prometheus. So click on Prometheus and select Prometheus option here. Okay, Prometheus option here. Once that is done, click on import. That's it. So this is how you can import the dashboards. So you can see the dashboard has got imported here. So this is the node exporter dashboard. Similarly, we have to add one more dashboard, which is called as Jenkins dashboard. Okay, we have to add the Jenkins dashboard. Now, in order to get the Jenkins dashboard, we need to go to this particular URL. So let me go to the URL. Let me paste it here so that we'll be getting the Jenkins dashboard. Okay, we are going to get the Jenkins, right? In the Jenkins, how much utilization has been completed, how many times the job has been executed, all those things we'll be able to see. So let me click on copy ID to copy ID and then go to the Grafana, click on plus button at the top right side, click on import dashboard and here paste the ID and then click on load so that the Jenkins dashboard will also get loaded. And once the load is completed, here you can see Prometheus, click on the drop down, select Prometheus because we want to get the Prometheus metrics. So for that only we are configuring Prometheus here. So click on import so that the Prometheus and Jenkins dashboard have been successfully added here. So you can see the Jenkins dashboard is currently showing how much memory has been utilized, what is the health of the Jenkins, and Jenkins notes how many failed jobs. You can see the number of jobs that got failed, the number of successful jobs also. So all these details we are able to see. So now the next thing that we have to do is we need to do the configuration. But before that, let me show you the dashboards, whatever we have added. So here you can see an option called dashboards. So click on dashboards. And here you can see the Jenkins dashboard is available. And also the node exporter dashboard is also available. If you click on any particular dashboard, that particular dashboard will be shown. And here you can also change the time when the dashboard has to get updated. So every 30 minutes it gets updated. If you give last 30 minutes, if you want to change, you can also change. I want every 5 minutes the dashboard should get updated. So if you give every last 5 minutes, it will show what happened in the last 5 minutes. So all these things you will be able to see that. Similarly, the node exporter also, you can also change the time frame of the node exporter as well. You can see the last 24 hours it is showing. If you want, you can also click on last 5 minutes and it will show how much RAM has been used, what is the swap memory, CPU usage, all these things it will be able to show, right? So this is how you can set up the Jenkins dashboard. Now, once we have set up the Prometheus and Grafana, and also the node exporter job and also the Jenkins job in the Grafana, the next thing that we have to do is we need to create the EKS cluster. So why we are creating the EKS cluster? Because we want to deploy our application into the EKS cluster. Earlier, we have deployed our application. If you observe this particular pipeline, we have deployed our application into the Docker container. But I want the same application to be deployed into the EKS cluster also. So in order to do that, we need to create the EKS cluster. Now, there are multiple ways of creating the EKS cluster. So what I will do is I will use the VI code editor or the VS code editor, that is Visual Studio Code editor, to execute the commands in order to create the EKS cluster. Okay, let me explain you those things also one by one. So here you can see in the IAM console, I have created a user with a name called K8S. And for this particular user, I have given the administrator access permission. Once you give the administrator access permission, go to security credentials and then create the access keys and secret keys. So I have already created the access keys and secret keys. And these, by using these access keys and secret keys, we need to configure in the terminal. So you can see I have currently configured the access keys and secret keys and also the region where I'm going to create the EKS cluster. So this is the region where I'm going to create the EKS cluster. In your case, if you are creating the EKS cluster in any other region, make sure to give the same region code here. Now let us create the EKS cluster. Now in order to create the EKS cluster, this is the command to create the EKS cluster. As I was mentioning, I am going to create the EKS cluster in AP-northeast-1 in the availability zones, AP-northeast-1A, northeast-1B. Right, let me go to the VS Code editor. Let me paste the command so that the EKS cluster will get created. But here it will take at least half an hour, at least 15 to 25 minutes to create the complete EKS cluster. So we have to wait till that EKS cluster creation is completed. Once the EKS cluster is created, then we can access the EKS cluster by going into the EKS service in AWS, which is Elastic Kubernetes service. You can see it here. If you want, you can also create the EKS cluster directly in the AWS console also. That's completely up to us. So we can create it by using Terraform. We can create it by using the commands as I'm doing in this video. You can also create it by using the AWS console directly. So if you click on add cluster here, you can see create. If you click on create, you have to do the required configurations and setups, and then cluster will be created. But if you execute these commands, what will happen is automatically the cluster will get created since we are executing the direct commands. So currently you can see the Kubernetes cluster has got created. If this is the error that you are also going to get, you don't have to bother because it is just an version requirement, the highest version requirement. But however, I have installed the highest version only, but still it is showing, but this doesn't create any problem when you are deploying the application. Right now, here you can see EKS cluster with the name called Kastro cluster is available in which region? AP-Northeast-1. So that is particularly the Tokyo region. AP-Northeast-1 is Tokyo region. Now you can see I have opened the Kubernetes cluster, that is EKS service in the Tokyo region. So the Tokyo region code is AP-Northeast-1. So if you don't see the cluster, just reload the page. Once you reload the page, you will be able to see the cluster which we have created. You can see Kastro cluster. This is the one that we have created. And you can see 13 minutes ago, it got created. So it took almost 20 minutes to create this particular cluster. So even when you are practicing also, it will take that much amount of time at least to create the cluster. Now, once after the cluster is created, a cloud formation template or a cloud formation stack will also get created automatically. So let me go to the cloud formation service in the AWS. You can see the cloud formation. And here you can see the EKS CTL related cloud formation stack is also available. So this will also get created, right? So this is how you can create the EKS cluster. Now our cluster is ready. Okay, our cluster is ready. Now, once after the cluster is ready, if you want, you can execute this EKS CTL get cluster in the VS Code editor. But however, we can see that cluster is already available in the AWS console. So if you want, you can execute it. Otherwise, it's not required, right? Now, the next thing that we have to do is we need to create and associate IAM OIDC. Okay, this is actually the provider which is used for the EKS cluster, right? So for that, what we have to do is you need to enable and use IAM roles for Kubernetes service accounts on our EKS cluster. And we need to create and associate OIDC identity provider. So this is basically used to provide required permissions for the EKS cluster, okay, to create and associate IAM OIDC provider. Now for that, this is the template that we are going to use, but this is what that I'm going to use. So here what you have to do is you have to change your region. If you are also creating in the same region, you can keep the same region. If you are creating the cluster with the same name, you can keep the same name. But if you are creating in a different region with a different cluster name, you have to change these names. So that is what I have given here also. Okay, give the region code and then give the cluster name and then click on apply. So that is the same thing that I have given here also. Okay, so let me copy this command. Let me go to the VS Code editor. First, let me clear the screen. Now, let me execute that command also so that it is going to approve that. Okay, the IAM OIDC provider permission. Now, once that permission is provided, the next thing that we have to do is we need to create a node group. Okay, we need to create a node group for which we need to give the add-ons in the public subnets. Okay, why we need to give these add-ons? The reason is these add-ons will create the respective IAM policies. Okay, and these policies will automatically help us to create the node group rule. Okay, that is why I am giving create node public group. I mean public node group. So these are the things that I am going to use. So I'm going to use the Kastro cluster to create the public node group. And in this region, my cluster is available. So in the same region, I'm going to create the public node group. And this is my node group name. And this is the EC2 instance type. I'm going to use T2.medium. I need 2 nodes for that. Minimum is 2 nodes and maximum is 4 nodes. Based upon the traffic to the server, traffic to the site, automatically those number of nodes will get auto updated. That's called as auto scaling. Okay. And volume size, I'm going to use 20 GB and SSH access keys. So this is actually the access key name. So what is this name is actually when you are launching the monitoring server. Okay. When you are launching the monitoring server, you have created the PEM file, right? So that PEM file name you should give. So don't give .pem, just give the PEM file name. So I have created a PEM file name with this particular name. Okay, the same thing, I have given it here also. You can execute any of these commands, this command or this one, anything you can execute. The process remains same and the formation templates will also remain same. But make sure to change the PEM file name and also the cluster name if you have created a different cluster and the region where cluster is also available. Make sure to give these ones. So let me copy these commands so that it is going to create the node group, right? So EKS CTL, I mean, it has added the IAM OIDC provider. Now let me paste this command, click enter so that the node group will get created. So how many node groups will get created? Minimum 2 node groups will get created and a maximum of 4 we can upscale. And what is the volume size? The volume size is 20. Okay, 20 GB. The very important thing here is about the PEM file, which is very, very important. You should have the PEM file. If you don't have the PEM file, then it will not show the node group creation. Once the node group is created, the next thing that we have to do is we need to verify the cluster and nodes. Okay, we need to verify the cluster and nodes. Currently, cluster is already available. You can see Kastro cluster is already available. Now, if you click on the cluster, you will be able to see the nodes that are available. Okay, you will be able to see the nodes that are available. Now, if you want to see the nodes, here you can see an option called compute. So we have added one add-ons, right? IAM OIDC authentication. So that add-on is also provided here. So you can see that. Okay. Now, the other thing that we need to look after is the nodes. So in order to see the node groups, you can see an option called compute here. So click on compute. And here you should be able to see the nodes and node groups. Currently, you can see the node group is already available. Okay. How many node groups? Desired is 2. Okay. You can see the node group status. Currently, it is in the creating status. It is still getting executed. So this will also take some 10 to 15 minutes of time. Once this is done, the next thing that we have to do is we need to go and deploy the application in the EKS cluster. Now, in order to deploy the application in the EKS cluster, we need to install the Argo CD. Okay, we need to install the Argo CD. We will see how to do that in some time. So let the node group gets created. After that, we will see groups are successfully getting created or not. Now, meanwhile, let me also tell you a couple of things. Once your practice is completed, if you want to delete the entire things, so you can directly use this command to delete the node group, and to delete the cluster, you can use this particular command. Okay, this is the command to delete the node group. This is the command to delete the entire EKS cluster. And if you want to get the capture node group name, then you can use this particular thing. And if you want to get the list of clusters, you can also use this command. So these commands are optional. We will execute these commands once after this complete demo is done. So you can see the node group has got successfully created. So let me go to the EKS service and just click on the server, the cluster, whatever you have created, just refresh this page so that you will be able to see the node groups. So you can see the 2 maximum node groups, 2 desired size, and you can see the node group size is active. Okay, the current status of the node group is also active. So this is how we can create the node groups. So once the node groups got created successfully, the next thing that we have to do is we need to deploy the application in the EKS cluster. Okay, so in order to deploy the application in the EKS cluster, we need to work with Argo CD installation also. Now, the reason why we are installing Argo CD is in order to monitor the Kubernetes with Prometheus, we need to install Argo CD. So that is the reason why we are installing the Argo CD. So to install Argo CD, execute all these commands in the VS Code editor. So let me go and create first the namespace with the name called Argo CD. So you can see first I have created the namespace. So this particular error is because the namespace did not got created. So I have just executed kubectl create namespace Argo CD, and you can see the namespace got created. Once the namespace got created, so let us apply that particular namespace by using this particular command. So kubectl create namespace Argo CD. So this is the command I have used to create the namespace. So you can see the same thing here. Okay, right. Once that is done, then we are going to apply that one. Okay, let me go and apply that particular namespace. So let me paste this command and let me click enter so that that particular Argo CD will get applied. So you can see it is getting created. It is getting applied. Once this successful application is completed, then we are going to expose the application to the public by using the load balancer. Application in the sense the Argo CD server. So by default, this is not publicly exposed. So in order to expose that, I'm going to use the type as load balancer. So let me copy this command, and once after the successful execution is done, then you should see an option called patched. When you see that one, that means you have successfully worked with the namespace. So let me paste this one also. Let me click enter so that it is going to patch it. Once the patch is completed, you will see an option called patched. So here we can see an error from server, bad request, invalid character, yes. Looking for beginning of object key. Right. Let me check what is this error and how to resolve that. Let me tell you that part also. So I think some problem with the VS Code editor. So what I have done is I have executed the same command in the command prompt. Okay. When I have executed the same command in the command prompt, that got executed and the server has got patched also. Okay. Right. So if you just open the command prompt, so just open the command prompt and then right click and click on run as administrator, click on yes. And once that is done, just paste it so that you'll be able to see patched option. Okay, you'll be able to see, you can see that it is saying patched. So once the patch is completed, the next thing that we have to do is we need to configure a couple of other things. Okay, let me give that command also, which I have used for this one. So this is the command that I have used. Okay, this command I have executed in the command prompt. Okay, I'll just write command prompt execution. So that you will be able to understand that. Command prompt execution, right? So the same, both are same commands only, so you can execute any one command, that is fine. So you can see it is showing patched. Okay, that is what we have seen. It is showing patched, right? So now once this is done, if you want to see the namespace, you can execute this command called kubectl get namespace. So let me execute that command so that you will be able to see whether namespace got created or not. So I'm going to execute these commands in the command prompt because VS Code editor is throwing some error because of some configuration issues. So let me execute kubectl get namespace, and you can see the namespace called argo cd that got created. So this is what we are trying to create, and it created 11 minutes back. Once the namespace got created, if you want to see the pods, okay, if you want to see the pods available in the created namespace, you can execute kubectl. So let me remove this one. So you can execute kubectl get pods -n. -n represents the namespace here. And what is the namespace name? Argo cd is the namespace name. So this is how you can execute the different commands. If it is not working in the VS Code terminal, directly you can open the Windows command prompt and you can execute it. But remember, whatever commands that I'm executing here, all these commands you have to configure first. So you have to configure kubectl, you have to configure eksctl. Once all the things are configured in your local system, then only these commands will get executed. So whatever things that we have discussing in the Kubernetes cluster creation, from that step, everything you have to pre-configure, then only you execute these commands. So is why you will be getting the proper executions, right? So once that is done, the load balancer will get created. So wait for 5 minutes for the load balancer creation. Once the load balancer is created, we will be getting the load balancer URL. Now, by executing this, by using this load balancer URL only, we are going to access the application. Okay, by using the load balancer URL only, we are going to access the application. So here you can see this is the name and what is the status and all the details you can see it here, right? So now the next thing is we need to monitor the Kubernetes with Prometheus. Okay, we need to monitor the Kubernetes with Prometheus. So it is used to monitor Kubernetes cluster. Additionally, what we have to do is we need to install the node exporter using Helm. So in Kubernetes, there is a concept called Helm charts. So using Helm, we need to install the node exporter, and the purpose of this installation is to collect the metrics from the cluster nodes. Okay, collect the metrics from the cluster. So install node exporter using Helm, and if you want to begin your monitoring of Kubernetes cluster, you will install the Prometheus node exporter, and this component allows us to collect system level metrics from the cluster nodes. And these are the different steps. So let me execute all these steps also. So let me give Helm space those things. So currently in my system, Helm version is available. So since Helm version is available, I can directly execute this particular command where it is going to add Prometheus community Helm repository. So let me execute this command in the command prompt itself. So let me click enter so that it is going to add the Helm repository. Once this Helm repository has got added, you can see it has been added to your repository, right? Once that is done, then we are going to create the namespace for node exporter. So let me copy this command in order to create the namespace for node exporter. So let me press enter so that the namespace, the node exporter namespace will get created. So you can see the namespace node exporter got created. Once that is done, then we need to install the node exporter using Helm. So in order to install the node exporter using Helm, so let me copy this particular command and then let me go here, paste it, click enter so that the Helm installation will be happening. Okay, install the node exporter using Helm. Okay, we are going to take the help of Helm charts in order to install the node exporter. So that is what I am doing here. And you can see it got installed successfully. You can see the status is also showing as deployed, right? Once the installation of the node exporter using Helm is continued, we need to continue with the load balancer thing of the previous step. So let us execute this particular command. So execute this particular command in the VS Code editor. If this command doesn't get executed in the VS Code editor, you can open the Windows PowerShell and execute this particular command in the Windows PowerShell so that any one of the command will work. Both the commands will work actually. But if you are facing any error with respect to this command in the VS Code editor, you can execute this particular command, okay, in the Windows PowerShell. Currently, I have already executed that particular command in the Windows PowerShell. This is actually the Windows PowerShell. So you can see the command has got successfully executed. Now, once the command gets successfully executed, we need to get the load balancer URL. So the same command I have executed here also. You can see it here in the Windows PowerShell I have executed. So I have used this particular command because I am using the Windows PowerShell so that in Windows PowerShell, the command will become little different where we need to give the environment type. So this command also you can execute it in the VS Code editor. So the same thing I'm giving it here as well. So if this command doesn't get executed in the VS Code editor, you can execute this command in the PowerShell, that is Windows PowerShell, in order to get the load balancer URL. So this is our load balancer URL. So now what we have to do is by using this load balancer URL, we need to set up the Argo CD homepage. Okay, you need to set up the Argo CD homepage. So let me copy the Argo CD, the load balancer URL. Okay, let me copy it, go to the browser. In the browser, what we have to do is we need to open a new tab, paste it, click enter, so that we will be able to see the Argo CD homepage. If you see anything like this, you don't have to bother, just click on advanced. And once after you click on advanced, you have to continue to the site. Okay, you have to continue to the site. So if you scroll down a little bit, you can see this particular link. So just click on this link so that you will be able to see the Argo CD homepage. So let us wait till we get the Argo CD homepage. Now you can see, so Argo CD homepage is available. Now we need to enter the username and password. So by default, Argo CD has the username as admin. So let me enter the username as admin. Now to get the password, what we have to do is we need to execute this particular command in the VS Code editor. So if this command doesn't work in the VS Code editor, we have to execute in the PowerShell. So first, let me show you whether it will work in the VS Code editor or not. So let me click enter. You can see it is not working. Now, what I will do is I will execute this particular command by doing some changes in the PowerShell, that is Windows PowerShell. Let me show you how to execute that. So since we want to execute this particular command in the Windows PowerShell, we need to do some changes to the command. So here we have to add the environment. So by using this particular command, we can execute in the Windows PowerShell in order to get the password. So let me paste it here. So once you enter this command, if you want to see the password, this is the command to see the password. So echo $environment variable. Again, this particular command is something which won't work for the PowerShell. If it works, that's fine. If it doesn't work, we have to edit this command. Now you can see it is not working in the Windows PowerShell. So this command will work only for the VS Code editor. Now let me show you how to edit this particular password. So the command to execute into the Windows PowerShell is this one. So just copy this command. Here we need to add the environment. So just paste it here, click enter, so that you will be able to see the password. So this is your password. So copy this entire password, go to the Argo CD browser, paste it here, and then click on sign. Once you have successfully configured, you will be able to see the Argo CD homepage. So this is how you can get the Argo CD homepage. Right. Now, once you do this one, then the next thing that we have to do is we need to add a couple of settings in the Argo CD homepage. The first thing that we have to add is the GitHub repository URL also. Okay, so in the Argo CD homepage, in the left pane, you can click on manage your repos, projects, and settings icon. So let me show you that particular thing. So you can see this particular option, manage your repositories, projects, and settings option. So click on this particular option. Now here, once you click on this one, what we have to do is we need to click on repositories here because we need to add the repository. Which repository? GitHub repository. So click on repository and then click on connect repo using HTTPS. Because for our GitHub repository, we have the HTTPS link as well as SSH link also. So whichever you want, you can go with. But HTTPS is something which I am going to prefer. So click on HTTPS and here the type is Git. And here project, you can give any name. Okay, type is Git, project you can give any name. So let me go with some name, which is a default name. So let me give it as default here, just select from the drop down. So instead of giving any other names, it is better to go with this particular name. And here you have to provide the repository URL. So for in our GitHub, we have the code. Okay, copy this entire repository URL. So HTTPS URL only I'm copying. And now go to the Argo CD. In the Argo CD, paste the repository URL. Since it's a public repository, we don't have to bother. So there is no need of giving username and password because it's a public repository. Once it is done, we can click on connect. Okay, in the top bar left side. So you can see there is an option called connect. So click on connect. Now, if everything is configured properly, the connection will be successful. You can see the connection status as successful here. Now, once the connection status is successful, in the same Argo CD homepage, in the left pane, you have to click on manage your apps and diagnose health problems. Let me show you that. So this is the one, manage your applications and diagnose health problems. So click on that. Once you click on that, here we need to add a new application. Okay, we need to add a new application. You can see that. Click on new application and give the application name. So let me click on new application. And here application name is ZOMATO. So this is our application name. And project name, let it be the default name. And the other things that we have to give is, here you can see, application name is ZOMATO, project name is default. Sync policy, I'm going to select the automatic sync policy. So when I give automatic, what will happen is, whenever I do the code changes, automatically that code changes will be replicated here. So that is the reason why I'm giving sync policy as automatic. And a repository URL, here also we have to provide the GitHub repository URL. So if you scroll down a little bit, you will be able to see repository URL. So just select the GitHub repository URL, which we have configured. And the revision is usually given it as head only. So we don't have to change the revision, but path is something which we have to give the name of Kubernetes folder in ZOMATO project repository. If you go to my particular repository, in the repository, I have given a Kubernetes folder. Okay, in this Kubernetes folder, I have 3 files. One is called as deployment.yml file. Next one is nodeservice.yml file. And the other one is service.yml file. So I hope you have an idea about what will be there inside these files. So since this project is related to the deployment of application in the Kubernetes cluster, so I expect that you have an idea about all these. So now what I will do is I am just going to copy the name of the Kubernetes cluster. Okay, I'm going to copy the name of the Kubernetes folder. And here in the place of path, okay, in the place of path, we have to give the name of Kubernetes folder in project repository. So let me give the name, which is Kubernetes. Right. Once that is done, the next thing that we have to do is cluster URL. Now here, in order to select the cluster URL, select the one from dropdown. So if you scroll down a little bit, you will be able to see the cluster URL. So click here, and this is the default cluster URL for Kubernetes, okay, which is a service. And then the next thing that we have to give is the namespace. Okay, namespace is again the default namespace. And once you give the namespace as a default, then we can finally click on create. Okay, you can see on the top left side, you can see an option called create. So click on create. So once it is created, you can see unable to create application error. The application is invalid, ZOMATO metadata. Let me just cross verify this. So the reason why we were seeing that error is in the application name, I have used capital letter. So let me use the small letter because it is taking only the small letters. So let me click on create now and let's verify whether we will get the error or not. So you can see the application name should be in small letters, right? Now you can see the status, it is getting synced and it is in the progressing state also. And you can also see all the other details in the Argo CD as well. Now, once this is done, okay, once this is done, you have to wait for 10 to 15 minutes so that you will be the status as complete. Till the time you are not seeing this one, you cannot access the application. You can see the status is still in the progressing state. Once this is done, then only we will be able to access the application upon doing a few other configurations. Now you can see in the repository in Kubernetes folder, we have deployment.yml file. In the containers section, change the Docker Hub username. Okay, change the Docker Hub username. So let me show you that. So go to deployments folder in the repository. In which file we have to go? In the file called deployment.yml file. So let me go to the deployment.yml file. If you are using your own name, So here we have to change the image name, which is, the GitHub Docker Hub username, which is Kastro V. This is currently my Docker Hub username. In your case, your Docker Hub username you have to provide. So make sure you are going to provide the proper name here. Okay. And the container port is 3000 that we have seen. So Docker container application is running in Docker container, right? So that application is running on port number 3000 that we have seen already in the first phase of this project. Right. So let me go here. Now you can see the status is healthy. So there is no problem with the application, and application has successfully created here. Right. Once that is done, okay, once that is done, add a job to scrape metrics on node IP 9001/metrics in prometheus.yml file. So this is also something that we have to do. Now here, what you have to do is we have to update the Prometheus configuration, that is prometheus.yml file. Now, in order to add a new job for scraping metrics from node IP, this particular IP. So you can do this by adding the following configuration to your prometheus.yml file. Okay, prometheus.yml file. Now, where will you get the prometheus.yml file? If you remember, here we have launched 2 servers. So let me restart it. Here we have launched 2 servers. One is ZOMATO server and the other one is monitoring server. In the monitoring server, you will be having the prometheus.yml file. So let me check that particular file. Now here you can see this is the path where prometheus.yml file is available. So copy this entire path, go to the Prometheus server, paste it here, and then click enter. Now you can see the prometheus.yml file is available. Now here what we have to do, we need to add this job. Okay, we need to add this job. So let me copy this entire one, scroll down to the complete bottom of the page. Make sure of it. Okay, you have to scroll down to the complete bottom of the page. So let me just show you that. Just give me a second for that. Right. Press I, character I in the keyboard, press enter. Now here, what you have to do is you have to paste that content, which is Kubernetes job. So let me paste it here. Right. So that's how you can add the job. Now, once you add the job, what will happen is the metrics will come. Okay, the metrics will come. So let me press escape, :WQ. That's it. Now, once these metrics are going to come, okay, once these metrics are going to come to the monitoring tab or the monitoring server, in the above, here we need to do some changes. One is node IP. Okay, in order to get the node IP, you need to go to the EKS in AWS. Okay, you need to go to the EKS in AWS. So let me show you that also. So I have just entered that one, but let me edit that particular file once again, because we have to edit this one. So here you can see node IP. So in order to get this particular node IP, what we have to do is, if you go to the EC2 console or EC2 service, you can see 2 node groups has got created. So these node groups has got created because we have configured that one. So earlier we have created only these 2 servers, but these 2 instances has got created because while we are configuring the EKS cluster, node groups, nodes, these are the things that got configured. Okay, these are the things that got automatically launched. You can see T3.medium, and I have given the desired size as 2 and the maximum size as 4 or 5, if you remember correctly, right? So now let me select any one instance. Okay, any node group you can select, either this one or this one. So copy the public IP address. So let me copy the public IP address of any one node group. So for this one, what I will do is I will just edit this one or let it be as it is, no issues. So I'll just copy the public IP address of the node group and then go here and paste the node group public IP. Okay, paste the instance public IP. So just remove this entire one. So I'm just going to the insert mode, remove this one, and then paste the public IP of the instance. Any one instance, not the monitoring server IP or not the ZOMATO server IP, the node group IPs. So let me press escape, :WQ. That's it. So press enter. Now, once this is done, the next thing that we have to do is we have to work with the configuration part, the other configuration part. That is, the static config sections specifies the targets to scrape metrics from, and in this case, it is 9001. Okay, it is 9001. So that is the configuration metrics. So here you can see add a job to scrap metrics. I have given, right, 9001. So that is the same thing that I have given it here also, right? Once it is done, then press escape, :WQ, and then let me execute this command so that we will be able to see the success state or the failure state of the execution. So actually, this is not the command that we have to use. We have to check the validity of the configuration. So in order to check the validity of the configuration, so this is the command that we have to use. So I'm just going to copy this command and then go to the mobile system. So let me paste this command and then click enter. Now you can see the configuration is success. So once the configuration is a success, so let me paste it here also. This is not the command that we have to use it. So this is the one that we have to use. So you should see success. So in order to check the configuration, validity of the configuration, we have to execute this command. So that is the same command which I have executed. Once that is done, let me use curl command to hit the URL. So let me go to the mobile system. Let me paste it here and then click enter. Now that is also done. Now the next thing that we have to do is we need to go to the Prometheus dashboard and reload it. And similarly, go to the Argo CD dashboard also and reload it to see whether the pipeline is done or not. So let me check that. So let me go to the Prometheus first, and here let me reload it. And similarly, I will also do the Grafana and Prometheus both at the same time. And here you can see KATS 0/1 up. Let us verify that also in some time. And here you can see this is also successfully done. Okay, you can see the health status of the ZOMATO application. So if you click on applications on the top right side, this is our ZOMATO application. So click here so that you will be able to see what is the status. Sync is synced okay, and the application is also healthy. So you can see the complete status here as well. Okay, right. So now once this is done, what we have to do is we need to copy the public IP of node IP. Okay, so we have got the node IP, right? That is 2 instances has got launched, T2.medium instances. So for that instances, what we have to do is we have to copy any one public IP address. So copy the public IP address, and then we have to go to the browser and open port number 30,001, because that is where our application is going to run. So let me show you that also. So let me go to the new tab, open, and 30,001. This 30,001 I have configured in the Prometheus, okay, in the Kubernetes directory of in the GitHub account or in the GitHub repository. I have configured this particular 30,001 port. So let me go to the instance and let me open port number 30,001 so that we don't get any kind of problem. So let me click on security here. So you can see there are 2 security group links that are available here. So this is the one that we have to use in order to work with node group. So I'm just opening this particular one in a new tab so that we will add port number 30,001. Okay, let me add the port number 30,001 for this particular node group security. Okay, especially this security group is related to the Kastro cluster, Kastro demo, NG. NG represents node group. Okay, we have got 2 node groups, right? This is the first one and this is the second one. So for these 2 node groups, this is the security group where you have to open port number 30,001. So let me go to the new tab and open add the rule of 30,001. So let me go to the inbound rules, click on edit inbound rules, and here we have to open port number 30,001. So click on add rule and custom TCP, the port number is 30,001 and the source is anywhere IPv4 and click on save rules. So that is what we have to do. So copy the public IP of node 1, go to the browser and paste it. So 30,001 is the IP, and you have to make sure to open the port 30,001 for node IPv4. So now let me go to the browser and let me access the application. Let's verify that. Just give me a second for that. So let us access the application here. So just go to the browser. In the browser, go to a new tab. In the new tab, we have already pasted that one. So click enter. We should be able to see the application. So, right. So now you can see the application has been successfully deployed into the Kubernetes cluster also. When we are working with the Docker container, the application was available in the port number 3000. Now the application is deployed into the Kubernetes cluster, and that application is running on port number 30,001. So let me also show you the same thing with respect to the application that is running in the Docker container also. So how will you get that? Just let me go and copy the public IP of the ZOMATO server. Okay, copy the public IP of ZOMATO server and then go to a new tab, and here you should paste the IP address, and the application was running on port number 3000. So let me press enter. Now here you can see in port number 3000, application is running, and also in the port number 30,001, the application is running. So the application that is running in the port number 30,001 is the application which is running in the Kubernetes cluster. You can see that here. Okay. And the application which is running in the port number 3000, this is the application that is running in the Docker container. So by now, you must have got an idea about how to deploy the application into the Docker container, and the same application, how to get it deployed into the Kubernetes cluster also. So as a part of this video, we have seen both the cases, that is deployment of application into the Kubernetes cluster and deployment of application into the Docker container as well. Now the question is how the application is running on port number 30,001. So where we have specified this particular port number. So this also we have to understand. Now in order to understand this one, we need to go to the GitHub repository. And in the GitHub repository in Kubernetes folder, there are 3 files that are available: deployment.yml, nodeservice.yml, and service.yml file. In the service.yml file, I have configured the port number 30,001, which is node port 30,001. So that is the reason why application is running on port number 30,001 here. So this is all about how to deploy the application into the Docker container and how to deploy the same application into the Kubernetes cluster as well. Now, one last thing we need to focus here, which is when you go to the Argo CD. So let me just go to that. So you can see the entire pipeline has got triggered. This is Argo CD pipeline. Okay, this is Argo CD pipeline. So you can see first ZOMATO application, we have the node exporter, ZOMATO, and then here also ZOMATO. And then we have a couple of other things such as node exporters and all those things. And finally, the application has got deployed. So that is how you can deploy the application into the Kubernetes cluster. Now let me go to the Prometheus. Okay, let me go to the Prometheus. And here we were getting one error, that is Prometheus 0/1, it was showing. So let us verify that one also. We have to verify that one. So this was the error that I was talking about. K8 is 0/1 up. So the reason why it is showing error is, it is because we haven't opened port number 9001. So make sure to open port number 9100, not 9001, port number 9100 for the EC2 instances which were created as part of EKS cluster. That is basically the nodes. So we have got 2 nodes which got created, right? So for those 2 nodes, we have to open port number 9000. And once you open port number 9000, then you will be able to see the this particular thing, which is the error thing. It won't be available. It will show 1 by 1 up. Let me show you that also. So let me go to the EC2 dashboard. In the EC2 dashboard, we have to open port number 9001 for the security group of node. So this is the node security group. So let me open port number 9001. Click on edit inbound rules. It's not 9001, it's 9100. So let me click on add rule, custom TCP, and the port is 9100. Source is anywhere IPv4. Click on save rules. That's it. So once this is done, just go to the Prometheus dashboard. And in the Prometheus dashboard, just reload the page. You will be able to see that. So let us wait. Right. Now you can see the Prometheus the K8 is 1 by 1 up is also done. So this is all about this particular project, how to deploy the application into the Docker container, how to deploy the application into the Kubernetes cluster, how to monitor the application by using Prometheus, Grafana, and how to finally check the creation of EKS cluster and how to deploy the application into the EKS cluster. So once everything is done, make sure to delete the EKS cluster, make sure to delete the CloudFormation stack that is available in the AWS service. So in order to delete the node group, this is the command to delete the node group. And in order to delete the cluster, so this is the command to delete the cluster. So here you can give the cluster name, whatever you have given. And once this is done, make sure to delete the CloudFormation stack. In the AWS service, you can go to the CloudFormation, and in the CloudFormation service, you will have a stack. That stack also you have to delete. Only when all these things are done, then only your cluster will be successfully deleted. This is all about deploying the application into the Kubernetes cluster and also deploying the application into the Docker container. So as a part of this video, we have seen 2 different works in the same video. I can understand that this particular video has got little lengthy. It is because we have to configure multiple tools. We have got some errors. We have troubleshooted them. So please be patient to troubleshoot the errors, whatever you are going to get. And once after you deploy the application into the Kubernetes cluster and the Docker container, you will feel that excitement of how to deploy the applications into the real world scenario. So this particular project will give you a complete idea about how the real world applications will be deployed into the Kubernetes cluster and also into the Docker container. Before I leave here, I'm having one kind request. So once after you have done your deployment in the Kubernetes cluster and also in the Docker container, you can please post your experience of working with this video on the LinkedIn, and you can tag me on LinkedIn. So you can find me on LinkedIn with the name called Kastro-Kiran. So the same LinkedIn URL is also provided in the description of this video so that it helps me to boost myself to create more and more videos, as it is going to help the budding learners of the DevOps and also the different tools that are available in the DevOps. Thank you once again. We'll meet in the next video.